Chapter 1245. After all, Dong Huangji still wanted to continue living here. However, Yi Hua was different. He stood on the side of reason and did not need to consider his face at all. Since the other party was already bullying me, do I still have to give in? That's impossible. Yi Hua felt auras flying over. The first to appear was naturally Dong Huangji. There was another person that Yi Hua did not recognize, and that person was naturally Jiang Wuyu. Very quickly, the surrounding area was filled with people from Dong Huang family. Everyone was very confused. Uncle and Dong Huang Baiji. What is going on? Dong Huangji looked very solemn, and his face was very gloomy. Jiang Wuyu, who was standing not far away from Dong Huang Baiji, tightly wrinkled his brows as he looked at Yi Hua and Dong Huang Baiji. What is going on? Dong Huangji asked in a low voice. As the family master, he had to display the dignity of a family master. Yi Hua stood up and said faintly, although you are the family master, shouldn't you greet your big sister when you see her? Dong Huangji. Yi Hua wanted to make things clear to everyone. The disciples who did not know what was going on were all stupefied. Dong Huang Baiji is the family master's big sister. I have never heard of the family master having a big sister. Dong Huangji was very angry. This man is going to leak out this scandal. Jiang Wuyu was even more astonished. This woman is actually Dong Huangji's big sister? When did I have a big sister? Didn't I only have big brother? The surrounding people immediately started discussing. Dong Huangji shouted out angrily, everyone, quiet down. Audacious. You are actually spreading rumors. Dong Huangji shouted out again. Of course, he had to redeem the family master's face. This kind of thing definitely cannot be leaked out. Yi Hua sneered and looked at Dong Huang Baiji, seemingly saying that your blood brother really doesn't like you. Compared to Dong Huang Baiji, Yi Hua seemed to be much more fortunate. At least his blood brother acknowledged him as his big brother, and he was very obedient. However, Dong Huang Baiji's blood brother would rather care about his face than acknowledge her as his big sister. This was truly disappointing. Indeed, Dong Huang Baiji could feel the disappointment in her heart. Right now, she did not feel like a family at all. To her, these people were even more unfamiliar than strangers. Yi Hua said faintly, the two of you want to monopolize the pure bloodline, what a great scheme. Nonsense. I, the Eastern monarch, will never do such a lowly thing. The aura of the Eastern monarch poles spread out, and there was an indescribable feeling of holiness, which made this sentence much more believable. The Eastern monarch Ji had indeed not done such a thing. This was the truth. Yi Hua looked towards Dong Huang Tachi, the great uncle in everyone's hearts. What about you, Dong Huang Tsai? Yi Hua questioned. This time, Dong Huang's face was calm. He said, you too, I'm afraid you've misunderstood something. However, it seems like you two are declaring war on the entire Eastern royal family. Yi Hua let out a deep sigh. This is what it means to dare to do something but not dare to admit it. Yi Hua patted on Dong Huang Baiji's shoulder, indicating that she can let out a sigh of relief. Even if I killed them, I wouldn't feel any guilt at all. Dong Huang Baiji slowly closed her beautiful eyes. It seemed like she no longer had any thoughts in her mind. This was exactly the attitude that Yi Hua wanted. He looked at the crowd and said in a deep voice, that's right. This sovereign is declaring war on your Dong Huang clan. For so many years, there has never been such an arrogant person who dares to stand in front of the family head and say such a thing. Wan, who was standing at the back, was scared silly. Is there a need to be so arrogant? After all, this is the Eastern royal family, can't you be a bit more low profile? Low profile? That doesn't exist. Jiang Wuyu's expression was grave. I'm afraid that today won't be a peaceful day. Your Honor, please allow subordinate to come down, I don't want to dirty your hands. Qing Su, who was standing at the back, said respectfully. Yihua said faintly, it has been a long time since I fought, and I want to exercise my body. I hope that I can warm up a bit. Donghuang Tachi shouted out coldly, don't be so arrogant, this is the Eastern royal family. It is precisely because we are in the Eastern royal family that I am giving you all face. If not, I wouldn't even have said a single word. Yihua said in disdain. I am giving you all face, but you all don't want it. Inexperienced child, you truly don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Donghuang Tachi took a step forward and released an overflowing killing intent. Even the air was trembling, and everyone could feel Donghuang Tachi's anger. Seems like great uncle is going to make his move. Do you all only know how to talk glibly? Donghuang Tachi's figure disappeared from where he was and appeared in the sky behind Yihua. Donghuang Tachi's right fist smashed down. This fist contained the might of heaven and earth, and the entire sky seemed to be trembling. The fist emitted out a scorching aura as it smashed towards the back of Yihua's head. Donghuang Tachi felt like he could see this poser's head exploding. A lowly man dares to be arrogant here. I don't know where your courage comes from, and you even dare to call yourself the Supreme Overlord. Who gave you the courage? Although Yihua's strength isn't as strong as Yizizi's, in actuality, he is already very strong. It's just that Yizizi is more terrifying. Towards this kind of fist, Yihua didn't want to use any flashy moves to deal with it. I only need a single fist. No, it's a slap. Paw. A loud and clear sound suddenly rang out. The sound was deafening and pierced through the entire world. Everyone was dumbfounded and looked at the scene in front of them in disbelief. What just happened? Why did it become like this? Behind Yihua, a large crater appeared, and within the large crater, a figure was lying on the ground. Without needing to think too much, everyone knew who the figure was. Yihua stood with his hands behind his back and said faintly, flashy and useless. All the disciples were shocked. Donghuang Jishang and Jiang Wuyu's jaws almost dropped to the ground. This man. He slapped Donghuang to the ground. Donghuang, who was in the crater, was trembling slightly. He placed both of his hands on the ground as if he wanted to stand up, but he didn't have the strength to do so. But this time, Donghuang's heart was filled with shock. Just now, he didn't even see the other party's movements, and he already felt a huge force on his face. His mind went blank, and the huge impact made him unable to stand straight. Even now, he couldn't think straight. Wan was stunned. This man could actually slap Donghuang to the ground. Was this still a person? Was that a god? Donghuang was considered one of the best in the 9 states and 5 seas this time, and yet he was taken care of so easily. Donghuang Baiji didn't say anything. Even if these people were to die, I wouldn't feel any heartache. After all, they only have themselves to blame. This move of Yihua's shocked everyone, and they basically did not dare to make any movements. After all, the one that was beaten up was Tai Shu. He was no small fry. At this moment, Yihua took out a cigarette and lit it up. He took a deep breath and exhaled. Not dead yet. He seems to have some ability. Everyone took in a breath of cold air. Not dead means that he has ability. Then, if he died, that means that he doesn't have any ability. Donghuang Jishang vomited out a mouthful of blood. Until now, he still didn't understand why he lost. There are still a lot of big moves that I didn't use. End of this chapter. Chapter 1246. Flicking away the ash from his cigarette, Yihua looked towards the person he was talking about. As expected, you are unable to let me exercise my muscles and bones. Who is the next one? The East Imperial Pole. Are you coming up? With the cigarette in his mouth and both of his hands inside his pocket, Yihua's actions were insufferably arrogant. Wan Wan was already stupefied. Just who is this person? To actually be able to deal with Dong Huang, this old man, with a single slap, and even now, he is still twitching. Was he going to die? Right now, Dong Huang's entire body was twitching. It was as if he was struggling before death. Dong Huang Baiji was able to see everything clearly. However, right now, she did not feel any pity for Yihua at all. Of course, Dong Huang Ji also saw it. He didn't have any impulsive thoughts in his heart, but as the family head, he still had to say what he should. How dare you kill granduncle? Too arrogant. Dong Huang Extreme Supreme roared furiously. This kind of person was simply infuriating. Yihua snorted coldly, so it is only now that you realize that I am indeed very arrogant. I'll give you a chance. This time, Dong Huang stopped convulsing. He died just like that, directly killed by a single slap from Yihua. A golden primordial spirit floated out from Dong Huang's body, and the primordial spirit fled at high speed. Only those who experienced it would know just how formidable that slap of Yihua's was. That was the most terrifying slap that Dong Huang had ever seen. I have still underestimated these people too much. But could Dong Huang escape this time? It was obvious that he couldn't escape. The golden primordial spirit gradually turned dark green before falling from the sky. It fell to the ground with a thud and turned into a pool of green water. That was a little scary. How could his primordial spirit turn into water? Who did it just now? The man didn't move at all, and the people behind him didn't move either. However, Wan Wan knew that it was definitely that fatty who did it. Jiang Wuyu already had a fearful expression on his face. In front of them, he was completely defenseless. Hopefully, Dong Huang Ji wouldn't be rash as well. If he were to do so, he would definitely die. Now was not the time to be impulsive. But Dong Huang Ji was the family head. There were some things that he had to say. Otherwise, he would lose face today. Don't look like you want to kill me. Why don't you make a move? Yihua swayed his palm, indicating that the slap just now was very pleasurable. Especially that instant when the slap went down, that slap sound was extremely shocking. However, Yihua had to admit that he had indeed used too much force just now. If he didn't use too much force, he wouldn't have been able to slap Yihua to death. Everyone around them knew that if this man could slap Tai Shu to death with one slap, then he could slap anyone present to death. Yihua crooked his finger towards Dong Huang Ji. Dong Huang Ji didn't want to step out, but his body didn't listen to Yihua and floated forward. The disciples could only watch as their patriarch was humiliated by the bad guys, but they did not dare to do anything. After all, the bad guys were too ferocious. Rushing forward was no different from courting death. Eastern Emperor Ji Shang, speaking of which, I still have to call you brother-in-law. Yihua laughed lightly. Dong Huang Ji Shang's expression was not good. Right now, I will give you a chance to live. Call for help. Yihua said faintly. He wanted me to acknowledge Dong Huang Baiji's identity. Didn't he say that it was fine just now? A struggle appeared on the Eastern Monarch pole, as if he was making a decision. When Jiang Wuyu, who was in the group, saw this scene, he somewhat wanted to leave, but he was afraid that he would be caught the moment he turned around. That would be even more tragic. Seeing that Dong Huang Ji was struggling, Yihua said faintly, "Seems like I have to give you some motivation." "No need, I will call for help." Dong Huang Ji was naturally a smart person. Since I am going to call for help, I might as well call for help now. If not, when I get beaten up later on, I will still have to call for help. Dong Huang Ji raised his head and looked towards Dong Huang Baiji, then shouted out in a low voice, "Big sister." Louder, did you not eat? Yihua really wanted to give Donghuang Baiji a slap. Donghuang Ji felt as if he was dreaming. I am the patriarch. Why is it that after they came, I seem to have become a lackey? No. I am even more miserable than a lackey. Big sister. Brother-in-law. Donghuang Ji shouted out loudly. The corner of Yihua's mouth twitched. I didn't ask you to call for me. Donghuang Ji felt wronged in his heart. You are the one who said that if I call for help, then I will definitely include you. However, when everyone heard Donghuang Ji's words, they were all very astonished. Donghuang Baiji is actually the patriarch's big sister. Why didn't I know about such a thing? Just how many secrets are there that everyone doesn't know about? Yihua took a look at the surrounding people, then said towards Donghuang Ji, speak, tell me everything that happened. Donghuang Ji didn't want to speak. He looked towards Donghuang Baiji who was at the back. I really can't speak about this. If I speak about this, the consequences will be very serious. The Donghuang family will really become the laughingstock of everyone. Donghuang Baiji chose to ignore Yihua's words. Towards this family, her heart is already cold. There's nothing that she wants to say. Yihua can do whatever he wants to do. Brother-in-law, listen to me, this concerns Indestructible Shrine. Every single family is authoritative. If I were to speak about this, the authority of the Donghuang family will be lowered, and the power of sealing the shrine master will also be lowered. Therefore, I really can't speak about this. Yihua let out a heavy sigh. I am asking you to speak, so speak. What indestructible shrine? Hurry up, I don't like people who waste time. I really can't speak about this. Yihua could be seen saying in a low voice, I heard that after you die, that shrine master will be released. You? Donghuang Ji Shang looked at Yihua in astonishment. This man is going to release Palace Master. Yihua nodded his head and didn't deny it. That's right, I am going to get the Palace Master out. I want to see just how formidable this Palace Master is, to be able to bewitch even my subordinate. You simply don't understand how powerful that Palace Master is. Donghuang Ji said in a deep voice. This man was definitely crazy, a madman. Yihua snorted coldly, who does he think he is? Speak. Or die. Take your pick. Facing Yihua's threat, what else could Donghuang Ji do? He could only say, this is what a smart person should be. Even if I die, I will still release him. Even if I don't die, I will still have to release him. I might as well just stay alive. How good is it to be alive? As Donghuang Ji spoke of the truth, everyone was shocked. This Donghuang Baiji was actually so pitiful. Even the old patriarch and granduncle wanted to obtain the bloodline and even wanted to kill him. Simply too inhumane. As a member of the Donghuang clan, they all felt ashamed. Jiang Wuyu knew that it was over. That palace master is definitely going to come out. Damn it, I have to go back and make preparations immediately. If that palace master comes out, he will definitely kill all of us one by one. After Donghuang Ji finished speaking, he collapsed onto the ground, and his eyes became lifeless. Today was the day of humiliation for the entire Donghuang clan, and it was all because of this man and woman. Stirring up trouble. Yihua was very satisfied and asked in a low voice, that palace master should be able to come out, right? 7 days later, the seal will be reinforced. End of this chapter. Chapter 1247. Before Donghuang Ji could finish speaking, Yihua said, that's right, even if you don't go, you will still be able to come out. Donghuang Ji, if that's the case, why didn't I say it just now? Right now, my face is on the ground, and I don't have the face to be the family master anymore. Don't run away these few days, if I find out that you ran away. Hee hee. Yihua gave him a death stare, then looked at Dong Huang Baiji. After all, he is my blood-related little brother. If I really kill him, I won't be giving my wife any face. Don't look at how the Empress doesn't mind, but if I really kill him, I will feel a little emotional. After all, he is my blood-related little brother. Yihua brought Dong Huang Baiji and the others and left. However, they didn't leave the East royal family, and instead chose another good place to stay. At the scene, Dong Huang Ji didn't have the face to face everyone, and he directly disappeared from where he was and went back to seclusion. However, Dong Huang Ji's corpse was still there, and no one went to touch it. This old man is very bad, to even lay his hands on his own niece. This old man is simply shameless. He was directly slapped to death. What a good slap. The disciples slowly left, but what happened today had already spread to the other floors, and even some odd job workers knew about it. And those odd job workers spread the news one after another. Gossip will never be able to be hidden. Inside a broken temple in the 9 provinces and 5 seas. There were a few figures standing here, and 2 skeletons were very conspicuous. However, the 2 skeletons were standing behind a man, and that man was naturally Wei Chang. Wei Chang was a bit flirtatious. A strand of hair was naturally hanging down from his forehead, giving off a feeling of a prodigal son in love. The rigidity that he had in the past disappeared, and he became a playboy. Look at the folding fan in his hand, there are even words written on it. Flirtatious. Truly unique. The one standing at the side was the Imperial Commander, Falling Dust. The woman behind him was precisely that ferocious drunken cry. There was also a stranger man. This man seemed a bit cold and didn't speak much. His eyes, there were dark circles around his eyes, or maybe it was smoky makeup, but it was still quite unique. At least the big sister likes this look. That golden nose ring was also very prominent, giving off a feeling that I want to hold on to it. Of course, that steel-like earring was also a bit rough. I'm really worried that the earring might get inflamed and become pustules. After all, that earring seems a bit rusty. Big brother, in any case, you should at least change it to a gold one. Why are you bringing a rusty one? However, this person's facial features were not bad. They made up for these flaws. If he wasn't good-looking, why would he do this? That must be a non-mainstream person. After all, that afro was very eye-catching. This was Lord Ming, whom Wan Wan was infatuated with. That's right, his real name was Lord Ming. These people could be considered the main force of the imperishable shrine. Of course, there were also many underlings. The palace master should be breaking the seal soon. Falling Dust acted like a normal person. He held a tattered broom and spoke as he swept the floor. Drunken Cry, who stood at the back, did not say a word. She looked at everyone warily, as if she did not trust anyone. I'm really looking forward to the Hall Master's arrival. Wei Chang opened his arms as if he was going to hug the palace master. His worship was a little crazy. The Death Mage and Death Assassin who were standing at the back couldn't understand. Their thoughts were still there, but they couldn't disobey orders. As for why their master betrayed them, the Death Mage and Death Assassin were also very confused. Looking at this unfamiliar master in front of them, the 2 skeletons were also very confused. Humph. Putting on an act. Lord Ming snorted in disdain. Seeing that the 2 of them were going to quarrel with each other, Falling Dust hurriedly mediated. All right, are the 2 of you enemies? The 2 of you quarrel whenever you are together. Falling Dust. This is an outsider, and you actually recruited him. How do you know if he is truly relying on us? What if he is only pretending? Lord Ming questioned coldly. In his heart, he doesn't believe that Wei Chang joined us normally. Look at that exaggerated action of his, it looks so fake. Following Lord Ming's words, the 2 skeletons went into a daze. What Lord Ming said makes sense. Perhaps, Master is pretending to be relying on us to obtain information for his honor. Wow, Master is so quick-witted. Lord Ming, Wei Chang is naturally loyal to the palace master. Could it be that the mark on his forehead doesn't prove anything? Falling Dust said helplessly. The mark on his forehead is an exclusive mark. As long as it is marked on his forehead, he will have to obey the palace master unconditionally. Lord Ming snorted coldly, mark. To a powerful person, a mark is nothing. Lord Ming. Are you questioning the palace master's strength? Falling Dust shouted angrily. The atmosphere between the two of them immediately froze, and it seemed like they were about to fight. At this time, Wei Chang laughed and said, Lords, the palace master is about to come out, please calm down. I reckon that the palace master doesn't want to see the two of you arguing with each other, right? Humph. There is no need for you to pretend to be kind here. Lord Ming shouted in disdain. Lord Ming. I will report your actions to the palace master in detail. Do whatever you want. This fellow is a spy. I have already seen through him. Both of you will regret this. Lord Ming pointed at Wei Chang and shouted. Wei Chang held on to his forehead and said helplessly, Lord Ming, I don't seem to have provoked you. Why are you targeting me like this? I am targeting you. You are one of the 7 sins, Wei Chang. Do you think that I don't know you? I don't believe that you will betray us just like that. Wei Chang let out a long sigh. You don't know how painful it is to work under his honor. You have to listen to him. If you don't listen, you will be scolded. Even if you do the right thing, you will still be scolded. You can only endure it. I have long been sick of this kind of life. So, I'm taking this opportunity to leave. TSK. You speak as if I will believe you. Lord Ming said in disdain. In any case, he didn't believe Wei Chang. However, Falling Dust still believed Wei Chang because he saw everything, but Lord Ming didn't see what happened. I believe that Wei Chang is loyal to the palace master. Lord Ming, you can shut up now. Humph. You will regret this. Lord Ming said coldly. Falling Dust revealed an apologetic look and looked at Wei Chang. Wei Chang expressed that he could understand. This kind of thing was very hard for others to accept. Alright, now let's talk about proper business. Falling Dust said gravely. Sweeping a glance at everyone, he said, the palace master is about to break the seal. Naturally, there will be no lack of killing. In this 9 provinces and 5 seas, I believe that everyone knows who sealed the palace master. At that time, the palace master will definitely kill that person. We will naturally follow the palace master and kill everyone. Let them know. The might of the imperishable shrine. Falling Dust's words were a bit hot-blooded, to the point that he was burning with passion. Drunken Cry, who was standing at the back, looked at Falling Dust's back, and a trace of tenderness appeared in his eyes. End of this chapter. Chapter 1248. Wei Chang asked curiously, when will the temple master appear? In a few days. Falling Dust said excitedly. The temple master was finally going to see the light of day. I'm so excited. I can finally see the temple master. What an honor. Wei Chang opened his arms again as if he was going to hug the temple master. However, Lord Ming snorted coldly. Act. Keep acting. Falling Dust stopped talking. He was too lazy to speak. Wei Chang smiled and did not bother with him anymore. When are we going to welcome the temple master? Wei Chang asked curiously. Falling Dust smiled. In a few days, we will go together to welcome the temple master. I believe that with our strength, those family heads can only tremble in fear. Of course. We will be loyal to the temple master. Wei Chang acted cool again, extremely sincere. Lord Ming snorted coldly. You are really not suitable for acting. Only these idiots will believe you. Lord Ming. I dare you to say another word. Drunken Cry shouted. She actually scolded the Imperial commander. Drunken Cry. Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because falling dust is protecting you. Wei Chang smiled. All right, we are all from the imperishable shrine. Stop arguing. If the temple master sees us being so disunited, he will not be happy. That's right. Wei Chang is right. We need to be united, Lord Ming. You better behave yourself. Falling dust gave the final warning. Lord Ming snorted coldly and did not say another word. You will definitely regret it. You will not even know how you died. On the other side, Jiang Wuyu hurried back home to call for a meeting. His goal was for this matter. The East Emperor was dead. He was killed with a single slap. And that man's goal was to release the temple master. However, he did not seem to be from the imperishable shrine. But why would he release such a person? He really did not understand. Patriarch, from what you're saying, Supreme East Monarch will not appear this time. One of the elders asked in a low voice. Jiang Wuyu nodded. Yes, the East Emperor Pole will definitely not appear this time. Then the Temple Master will definitely appear again. When that time comes, the entire 9 states and 5 seas will be in danger. Then what should we do? Let's gather the other 2 families and kill that man. Are you stupid? He killed Dong Huang with a single slap, but if you go over, he will kill you with a single breath. Exactly. Then what do you think we should do? Are we supposed to wait for the Hall Master to come out and annihilate us one by one? Everyone quietened down when they heard this. Of course, it was the 4 great clans that were sealed. Based on the Hall Master's character, he would definitely take revenge on them one by one after he came out. Patriarch, what should we decide? There are only a few more days to reinforce the seal. We can't care about Dong Huang anymore. What we need to do now is to gather the strength of the other 2 families and prepare for the indestructible shrine. Jiang Wuyu didn't have any better ideas. There was no hope for the Dong Huang clan, and he didn't know which side the Hall Master would choose. If he directly went to the Eastern Royal Clan, that would definitely be the best, but if he didn't go to the Eastern Royal Clan, then it would be very troublesome. Patriarch, you have to hurry up. We don't have much time. Jiang Wuyu felt the same way. There was no time to lose. They had to quickly gather everyone. Within the Eastern Emperor clan, Yi Hua was currently chatting with Eastern Emperor Ji Shang. Oh. You are saying that the indestructible shrine was sealed by you all. In that case, if the Hall Master were to come out, he would definitely come and look for you all. Yi Hua asked. If nothing unexpected happens, that should be the case. That Hall Master is a person who will definitely take revenge. Eastern Emperor Ji Shang's expression wasn't very good. I am clearly in my own territory, yet I feel as if I am being imprisoned, and I don't have any human rights at all. Seems like there is no need for me to go out and look for the Hall Master, they will naturally come over. Yi Hua laughed lightly. This is good too. I just have to wait for the Hall Master to come over. Of course, there is also Wei Chang. Eastern Emperor Ji Shang remained silent. This man in front of me is a madman. Even a madman wouldn't do something like this. If the Hall Master were to be released, countless lives would be lost, and countless people would die under his blade. At that time, corpses would be strewn everywhere, and it would be hell on earth. Don't be nervous, it is just a small matter. Yi Hua said lightly. He took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up, then looked at the night sky. Right at this moment, Qingya's voice sounded out in Yihua's mind. Hubby, where are you? Baiji and I are outside looking for Wei Chang. How are the two of you doing accompanying mother? Yihua asked lightly, and a trace of an arc could be seen on the corner of his mouth. Mother is very happy. We just came back from the Alps, and mother even went skiing. She is very happy. Hearing Qingya's tone, Yihua knew that mother was truly happy. Yihua himself felt gratified as well. Are you planning to come back after playing for a long time? At least for 1 to 2 months. Mother is very interested in this place, and she doesn't really want to go back anymore. After all, mother is staying in the palace, and mother has nowhere else to go. Yihua let out a light sigh. That's right. When mother is staying in the palace, she really doesn't want to go out at all. If I were to choose, I would definitely choose to stay on Earth as well. However, there are still a lot of things that I haven't finished here. Yihua, mother said that this place is pretty good. Qingya said in a low voice. Yihua said helplessly, this is what mother told you to say. Mother didn't want to tell you because she was afraid that you would get angry. It is more appropriate for me to tell you. Qingya smiled tenderly. Yihua pursed his lips, wherever mother likes to stay, then let her stay. In any case, it is not that long to go back and forth. All right then, I will go and tell mother. Qingya laughed lightly. What is mother doing? Mother is dancing in the square. Yihua, that's right, Yihua, did you manage to find Wei Chang? Qingya asked curiously. Yihua let out a deep sigh. Soon, Qingsu is already settled. That's good. Pay attention to your safety, and pay more attention to the children too. Don't worry, I will keep an eye on the children's side, nothing will happen. And that's all then, I will be hanging up now. I'm hanging up. Yihua was clearly transmitting his voice, but he made it sound as if he was making a phone call. This is simply a phone call from a different plane. Yihua stood up and walked towards the house. Donghuang Jishang was a bit confused. This man actually has a mother. Such a cold-blooded man, shouldn't he be an orphan? This is a bit ridiculous. Sigh, it's over, Donghuang Jishang left with a look of despair on his face. That palace master's formidability is something that you will never be able to imagine. You have been released, but it is impossible for you to go back in. Furthermore, you will be tortured to death, and even you will not be able to escape. You are too careless, you are too careless. However, he doesn't listen to you at all. What else can you do? If you insist on going your own way, when the time comes, everyone will desert you. Brothers, next month is going to end soon. End of this chapter. Chapter 1249. After returning to the room, Yihua saw that Donghuang Baiji was currently in a daze. Baiji, what's wrong? Yihua muttered. Donghuang Baiji let out a deep sigh. I really want to leave this place, it's uncomfortable to stay here. Yihua patted onto Donghuang Baiji's head, we will return after a few more days. Just now, Qingya told me that mother likes Earth a lot and decided to temporarily live there. That's right, that place is indeed good, I also want to go back and live there. Donghuang Baiji said softly. Yihua nodded his head, how about this, after I finish dealing with the matters here, we will go back and live there. Aren't you going to conquer the world? Donghuang Baiji asked confusedly. Yihua said faintly, let the children do this kind of thing. I am also a bit tired, it's better for me to live a peaceful life. Perhaps if those few years of comfortable life affected me. Yihua, are you really planning to? Donghuang Baiji said with a trace of happiness. In actuality, she didn't like this kind of life either. Going back and opening a bar is also pretty good. Yihua laughed lightly. Although that kind of life wasn't passionate, it was still very peaceful. Dongwang Baiji seemed to be reminiscing about that kind of life. Then, after you finish dealing with the matters here, we will go back together. Let's settle the matters in front of us first. Yi Hua's gaze became grave. That palace master's strength is definitely not ordinary, otherwise, Wei Chang wouldn't have betrayed us. In a few days' time, I might not only have to fight against the palace master, I might even have to fight against Wei Chang. Seems like I have to get serious too. I am a bit excited. After so many years, I can finally bring out my true strength. I am really looking forward to it in a few days' time. On the other side, Jiang Wuyu found the other two family heads and told them what happened. One of them was called Fu Wen, and the other was called Long Chu. The two of them were the strongest existences in the 9 provinces and 4 seas. After all, they were family heads, and their strength was unquestionable. They were both high gods. Fu Wen's expression was slightly grave as he said softly, "There are still a few days before the seal ends. Can we save Dongwang Ji Shang?" "I'm afraid it's a little difficult," Long Chu said coldly. His whole person seemed a little cold, as if he wouldn't smile at anyone. Jiang Wuyu nodded and said, "That's right. This man was able to kill Dongwang Ji with a single slap. His strength is not something we can fight against. If we go and ask for him, I'm afraid we won't die in the hands of the Hall Master, but in his hands. If that's the case, then we can only fight," Fu Wen said solemnly. After hearing that, the 3 of them remained silent. Fighting is no different from dying. But if they didn't fight, they would still die. There wasn't much of a difference between the two. Perhaps if the 3 of them worked together, they might have a sliver of hope. However, if they were to split up, there was no doubt that they would die. The 3 of them looked at each other and seemed to have made a decision. As the peak existences of this continent, if they didn't go up, who would? "We need to be prepared," Jiang Wuyu said solemnly. Fu Wen and Long Chu nodded their heads. "Let's go back and prepare. This is a life and death battle," Long Chu coldly said and took the lead to disappear from the stone bench. Fu Wen nodded at Jiang Wuyu and disappeared from sight as well. Jiang Wuyu sighed deeply and looked at the sky. He knew that the Hall Master would come out one day. However, he didn't expect it to be so soon. These few days would probably be the most difficult days for the 3 of them. But there was nothing they could do. Should they run away? It wasn't that they didn't think about it. However, as a powerful being, they also had their dignity. Running away was out of the question. In a rocky hill in Tangzhou, there were all kinds of stones with strange shapes. But in a place like this, they didn't seem that important. However, these stones were indeed the key to sealing the Hall Master. They weren't ordinary stones. They were the stones that suppressed the Hall Master underground and prevented him from coming out. However, 3 figures stood on top of the rocks. These 3 people were naturally Jiang Wuyu, Long Chu, and Fu Wen. The weather today wasn't very good. It was drizzling, but for the 3 deities, the raindrops were evaporated by the strong airflow before they could even land on them. Although there are only 3 of us, we might as well give it a try. It would be even better if we could strengthen the seal, Long Chu said coldly. His tone was still calm and composed. After all, they weren't scared. Jiang Wuyu and Fu Wen nodded. Although they didn't believe it themselves, they still had to give it a try. If one looked down from the sky, they would see that the 3 people were standing at the edge of the spell formation. However, there was a corner that was empty. That was Dongwang Ji. It was a pity that he didn't come today. In the name of the heavens, bless the world. Might of the earth, suppress the evil soul. The 3 people raised their hands high and shouted with a strong aura. This reinforcement didn't come from their strength, but from the power of faith that the entire 9 provinces and 5 seas had for the 4 great families. However, there probably weren't many members of the Donghuang clan left now. When the news spread, everyone's impression of the Donghuang clan fell to the bottom. They didn't expect the Donghuang clan to be so evil that they raised their children like pigs and dogs. Yet, they actually respected them. What the hell? The 3 people also knew that even if Donghuang Ji came today, it wouldn't help. Along with the 3 people's shouts, a ray of light descended from the sky. The 3 people stared at the ray of light. They had seen it many times, but this time, it was clearly different. It wasn't as thick as before, it was much thinner, and even the color was much dimmer. The 3 people didn't expect that just one person missing would be so serious. The seal had at least decreased by 50%. Along with the injection of the ray of light, the surrounding stones started shining, but the aura that they were emitting was still very weak. Just as the 3 people were feeling helpless, a few figures suddenly appeared in the sky. These people were naturally Luo Qin, and Wei Chang was also among them. Jiang Wuyu looked over coldly and said gravely, "Indestructible Shrine's people." Jiang family head, good eyesight, you guessed it correctly. Luo Qin laughed lightly. He didn't have any intention of stopping them and allowed them to reinforce the seal. Fu Wen and Long Chu's expressions darkened. These people are all from Indestructible Shrine. Their strength is definitely not ordinary. What are you all trying to do? Fu Wen asked gravely. Luo Qin said faintly, "Nothing much, you all continue with what you are doing, we will wait here for the palace master to break through the seal." The 3 people didn't say anything after hearing what Luo Qin said. They looked at each other, and they could see the heaviness in each other's eyes. Just what are these people trying to do? Since they are already here, why aren't they making a move? After a while, all of the ray of light was injected into the seal. However, not only did the 3 people not feel happy, they became even more grave. Because the seal was only reinforced a little, it was very disadvantageous to the current situation. End of this chapter. Chapter 1250. Everyone, you've worked hard. Do you want to take a break and enjoy your last moments? Fallen Dust smiled slightly, appearing extremely confident. This confidence, of course, came from the powerful temple master. But now, they still had to rely on Wei Chang. Long Chu said coldly, "If you want to fight, bring it on." Patriarch Long, you've misunderstood. The temple master is about to appear, so we naturally won't interfere. It's good to let the temple master exercise. I hope you won't disappoint the temple master. Fallen Dust had his own plans. The temple master was about to break the seal, so he naturally had to see blood. If they killed them all, the temple master would probably not be happy. Hearing Fallen Dust's words, the 3 could not help but shiver. The temple master had been sealed in the previous generation. Donghuang Ji's father had also died in the war, but this death had firmly sealed the temple master, which was considered a good thing. Although they could do anything for strength, when it came to the point of death, they could still sacrifice their lives. This was really extreme. The 3 did not say anything. They stood in the void, waiting for the temple master to arrive, and then making their final struggle. This spirit was admirable. The drizzle seemed to be getting heavier, making the atmosphere even more solemn. The surroundings were filled with rustling sounds. Long Chu looked at Fallen Dust's side. There were actually 2 undead, looking gloomy and uncomfortable. Patriarch Jiang, it seems like it's about time, Fu Wen said in a low voice. Jiang Wuyu nodded. The 3 of them had come early, so they were definitely prepared. To win, they first had to have a formation. For such a life and death situation, the 3 did not hide anything. They told each other everything they knew, and then used the strongest formation to deal with it. So when they came, the formation had already been set up, and they only needed to activate it. Great Sorrow Cloud Incantation. This was the Long family's top-notch formation. It could even suppress gods. Its main function was to ruthlessly suppress the opponent, so that they could not use their full strength. Although the formation's function was simple, there were very few formations that could suppress gods. So few that only the Long family had such a formation. The three immediately separated, their hands emitting golden light. Golden runes appeared in the pile of rubble, emitting a thick aura that enveloped the rubble. Behind Long Chu, a huge illusion vaguely appeared. This was a Buddha statue. A divine aura washed over him. The Buddha's attribute was light, which was the natural nemesis of the undead. Although Death Mage and Death Assassin were powerful, this kind of formation that was able to suppress a superior god made them feel uncomfortable. After all, their attributes were mutually exclusive. There was nothing he could do about it. Yihua himself belonged to the undead race, and thus, Yihua had a weakness as well, and that was the holiness. Just like the aura that this Buddha statue was emitting out, it was definitely capable of making Yihua feel uncomfortable. Wei Chang could feel the movement of the two skeletons behind him, but he did not make any movements. Death Mage was, after all, a master mage. He immediately enveloped his entire body with a black barrier, and at the same time, he also helped his little brother to cast a black barrier. Only then did he feel slightly better. However, this kind of protective shield is not something that can be used all the time. However, Death Mage can feel that the aura that this Buddha statue is emitting out is becoming stronger and stronger. To the undead, this was double the damage and could easily destroy them. The three of them saw that the undead in the Temple of Indestructible were in pain. They had a feeling that they were indeed very strong, and even they were in pain. This kind of self-consolation was fine, but they soon realized that the other team's main force didn't react at all. Wei Chang could feel that the aura was powerful, but he could directly ignore it. After all, the other team's strength was right there. Fallen Dust and Lord Ming were definitely not as strong as Wei Chang, and their strength was not much weaker than the few family heads. If they were stronger than the three family heads, they would have long come over to destroy the Temple of Indestructible God Wei Chang. The reason why Fallen Dust was so confident was because Wei Chang was here. What a powerful formation. Fallen Dust laughed in a low voice. He agreed with the other party's strength. These three people are indeed worthy of admiration. Even though they knew that they were going to die, they still didn't hesitate. Jiang Wuyu and the others didn't say anything, and they were unable to calm down for a long time. Clear Heart Formation. Jiang Wuyu shouted out gravely. This time, it was Fallen Dust's turn to be shocked, and even that Lord Ming was shocked. According to convention, one cannot add another formation to a formation. However, this was a formation. This was unprecedented, which was why the two of them were so shocked. This was one of Jiang Wuyu's trump cards. Clear Heart Formation could be added onto any formation. Its purpose was to strengthen our battle strength and weaken the local strength. However, when stacked with the Great Compassion Cloud Incantation, it was still a power that couldn't be underestimated. It could greatly weaken the local strength and strengthen our battle strength. Sword Art. Fu Wen shouted angrily, and his hands quickly formed seals. A white cloud condensed in the sky, and it was as if a heavenly eye had been opened. A sword hum pierced through the earth, and it directly descended with a powerful aura. This was a huge sword that was 300 meters long, and there were strange markings carved on the body of the sword, which gave off a dangerous feeling. However, this sword directly stabbed into the center of the formation. All of a sudden, the two formations were strengthened. That illusory Buddha statue seemed to have materialized, and a buzzing sound rang out in the air. This was a declaration of death to evil. Paw! The Death Mage and Death Assassin's shields instantly disappeared, and terrifying screams came from their mouths. They couldn't withstand this holy attribute at all, and to them, this was a fatal injury. "Trash," Wei Chang said in a low voice, and directly kept his two subordinates. Lord Ming, who was at the side, coldly snorted. Fallen Dust glanced at him, but didn't say anything. Meanwhile, Drunken Cry slightly furrowed his brows, and he looked at Wei Chang with doubt. Wei Chang gave Drunken Cry a mysterious smile, and this caused Drunken Cry to hurriedly retract his gaze. Sword Art was one of Fu Wen's trump cards, and its effect was to strengthen the effects of the formations. This was simply a perfect match, and it allowed the two formations to display their full potential. However, other than strengthening the formations, there was also the sword formation that could be used to attack the enemy, and of course, it had to be activated. These three formations complemented each other, and it was able to make the Palace Master suffer as much as possible. However, this was only one of the trump cards of the three family masters. To be able to become a huge family in the 9 provinces and 5 seas, it was impossible for them to not have some trump cards. Right now, Fallen Dust's expression was a bit grave. "Seems like I have still underestimated them." At the same time, Fallen Dust acknowledged his decision, and if Wei Chang wasn't here today, it would be hard to say. Wei Chang appeared very indifferent. One of the 7 deadly sins, that wasn't a joke. After releasing these trump cards, the three family masters felt a bit more at ease, because they saw the grave expressions on each other's faces. End of this chapter. Chapter 1251. The 2 undead were gone, but that man was very strange. Until now, he was still smiling, without any sense of danger. But at that moment, the ground began to shake. As the ground shook, the expressions of the 3 family heads became incomparably grave, and the trace of calmness they had just now also disappeared. However, Luo Chen and the rest were all excited. After waiting for so many years, the Palace Master was finally going to appear. They had waited for this day for too long. Cracks began to appear on the shaking ground, and these cracks extended endlessly, letting out ear-piercing creaking sounds. The pouring rain seemed to be frightened, and the rain gradually stopped. Even the dark clouds in the sky were scared away. The entire air was filled with an indescribable terror. From the cracks on the ground, a horrifying pressure seeped out, and everyone felt it. It was still that familiar smell. Luo Chen, Lord Ming, and Drunken Cry all slowly knelt down. Wei Chang smiled and copied them. But to Jiang Wuyu and the rest, this was a declaration of death. However, the shaking ground gradually calmed down, and the dark clouds in the sky condensed again. Violent rain poured down, accompanied by the sound of thunder and lightning, resounding throughout the world. Suddenly, a hand stretched out from the cracks. This hand was covered with mud, but that was not the main point. The main point was that on those 5 fingers, there were all stones. Diamonds? Or gems? That was not known. But Wei Chang felt that this was a thick aura of a nouveau riche. 5 fingers pressed on the wet mud, and it was just such a simple action. Jiang Wuyu and the rest's expressions sank, and they all prepared to attack. But at this moment, a golden light appeared, and it was a little bright. A golden crown appeared in the air. On the crown, there were also many colorful stones embedded. It seemed that this palace master was really interested in stones. The 3 swallowed their saliva, and their heartbeats quickened a little. Along with the crown gradually rising up, everyone could see the face of the crown. This face was very ordinary, not handsome nor ugly, but it gave people a creepy feeling. That pair of eyes seemed to be emitting a bloodthirsty light, and his whole body was emitting a bloody smell. The man's other hand was placed on the wet ground, and his face was very calm. That pair of eyes stared at the 3 people, as if he wanted to tear the 3 people in front of him apart. But at this moment, an accident happened. Ah! The temple lord screamed. He wanted to push himself up with both hands, but the soil was too loose, so he pressed himself down and fell back into the crevice. Everyone could even hear him. Plop! At this moment, a flock of crows flew across the sky. Croak, croak, croak. The entire arena was filled with an awkward atmosphere. How were they supposed to fight anymore? There was no need to fight anymore. It was too embarrassing. But Falling Dust said with a smile, Palace Master still likes to play. Play. Wei Chang was confused. At this moment, Wei Chang felt it. A figure appeared behind the three of them. Wasn't that the Hall Master? He wore a golden robe with brin stones inlaid on it. Even his boots were golden. As for the pair of gloves, they were all made of brin stones. This was probably the upgraded version of the Infinity Gloves. Hey, the Temple Master greeted him in a disdainful tone. However, it was this hey that made the three people's eyeballs almost pop out. When it appeared behind them. Why didn't I feel anything at all? The three hurriedly distanced themselves from the Temple Master and took out the weapons that they were proud of. Those weapons were simply colorful, and with a single look, one could tell that they were high-grade goods. You are the Temple Master? Fu Wen questioned gravely. I didn't expect that the Temple Master would actually be so pompous. Look at the Temple Master that's dressed in gold. That's right, why did you ask such an idiotic question? Why don't we have a conversation that has a high IQ? The Temple Master had a look of curiosity and expectation on his face. This expression caused the three to be very puzzled. This is different from what we imagined. Shouldn't the Temple Master be a berserk man? The kind that would kill whenever he comes out. Why is he still in the mood to chat? Long Chu said coldly, do you even have IQ? The Temple Master went into a daze, then suddenly pointed at Long Chu and said with a smile, Brat, I like you. Wei Chang, this kind of confession came too suddenly, causing Wei Chang to feel horrified. No, this is turning a thriller film into a comedy thriller film. As the person involved, Long Chu was also very astonished. This man actually dared to say such shameless words. This is simply, shameless awe. However, Jiang Wuyu was thinking, I wonder what kind of like this is, the kind of like that I have to bend over. This is a formation. Are you all the descendants of those few families? The Temple Master felt the aura of the formation and asked with doubt. However, if one were to listen carefully, one would be able to hear that the Temple Master's tone carried a trace of killing intent and unwillingness. The three did not speak. The Temple Master rubbed his palms together and said lightly, even if you don't say, I also know. It's not that I haven't seen this kind of formation before, back then, your elders also used it to deal with me. Unfortunately, they succeeded, the corner of Wei Chang's mouth slightly twitched. This Temple Master has indeed refreshed my understanding of him. This is a bit interesting. However, to Luo Chen and Lord Ming, they seem to have already gotten used to it. The Temple Master's personality is just like this. While walking coquettishly, he would take off the enemy's belt. Hearing what the Temple Master said, the three were delighted in their hearts. Seems like this formation is effective. I lied to you all, you even believe this, idiots. The Temple Master suddenly laughed loudly, appearing to be very happy. The three's expression stiffened, this Temple Master is really mischievous to the extreme. However, being able to see you all, I am at ease. The Temple Master suddenly said with incomparable sadness. Jiang Wuyu asked gravely, what do you mean? For you all to appear, it means that your fathers are all dead, you all are truly stupid. The Temple Master stretched out his index finger, seemingly feeling that his hair was a bit itchy, but he felt that it was impolite to take off the crown, so he poked his index finger into the crown through the gap. However, after he poked his index finger into the crown, his index finger got stuck. Awkward, this kind of awkward atmosphere appeared again. Could it be that this happened as well? Wei Chang asked confusedly. Luo Chen cried out involuntarily, This seems to be an accident. Wei Chang shook his head. This is really too careless. Right now, the temple master was pulling out his index finger, and he casually said to the three, I let you all watch it joke, it was a mistake, wait for me to pull out my index finger, then I will beat you all to death. The three, such arrogant words. Have you eaten garlic? Finally, the temple master carefully pulled out his index finger, let out a heavy breath, and once again wore the crown. End of this chapter. Chapter 1252. The palace master's gaze turned cold as he stared at the three of them. The three of them had already assumed an attacking stance. Look, is it crooked? The palace master held onto his crown and asked. The three of them had the same thought in their minds. I really want to beat him to death. Speak. The palace master held onto his crown and appeared to be very serious. This meant that he was a respectable person. Fu Wen swallowed his saliva. It's a bit crooked. Left or right? A bit to the left. A bit more, a bit more. A bit more to the right. A bit less, a bit more to the right, a bit more to the back. It's done. The palace master seemed to have completed a huge task and let out a breath. Thank you, you guys are really good people. Good people should be rewarded, don't meet me again in your next life. Ha! The three of them shouted out angrily and released all of their strength. The world seemed to be able to feel the three's anger and killing intent. Violent winds blew, and the color of the sky instantly became much dimmer. The heavy downpour disappeared, and what replaced it was waves of rumbling sounds that seemed as if the entire ground was going to explode. Good. As expected of the descendants of the four great families. Please allow me to take a shit, you guys should know how many years I have endured this shit. Luo Qin, bring me some paper. Yes. Palace Master. Jiang Wuyu and the others watched as the palace master took the paper, ran behind a huge rock, took off his pants, and squatted down. PFFF, my God. Why? Why? How did my father seal me back then? Right now, I seem to be committing suicide, so I released all of my aura, and you are telling me that you want to take a shit. Is there something wrong with you? Other than the killing intent and oppressiveness in the air, there was suddenly an additional vile stench. This was a pile of shit that had been suppressed for tens of thousands of years. That kind of stench was simply enough to make one's hair stand on end. To Jiang Wuyu and the others who had just eaten breakfast, this was simply the strongest poison. I want to vomit. Ugh! Drunken Ming couldn't take it anymore. However, Luo Chen pressed onto Drunken Ming and said gravely, Drunken Ming. You can't vomit, this is the aura of the palace master, you have to experience it with a grateful heart. Within this aura, there is a faint taste of knowledge. Wei Chang's face darkened. Bullsh *T, this is smelly. To actually let you speak of such a great principle, look at that Drunken Ming who actually believed in it. Drunken Ming closed his eyes and sniffed the air, but that face of his that had already turned green. I'm about to be unable to hold on for much longer. Wei Chang felt that Drunken Cry had swallowed his vomit again. F***ck me. I feel like vomiting, this is the most disgusting team that Wei, have ever seen. Fuck, this fellow wouldn't go and eat shit later, right? However, Jiang Wuyu and the others didn't feel good either. They could even hear the filthy voice spiraling down and emitting a foul stench. Finally, seeing that the hall master was cleaning up the mess, the trio heaved a sigh of relief. I'm sorry, I have been holding it in for too long, it's a bit smelly. The palace master waved his hand towards the three people. However, the three people immediately looked towards the palace master's hand. I really don't want to fight with him anymore. This is too disgusting. Do you want to use your own shit as a weapon? If so, then fine, I admit defeat. The palace master flew to a spot not far away from the three of them, and his expression turned grave again. However, the three of them didn't believe that the palace master would say something weird. It's definitely going to be like this. Don't be fooled by his outer appearance. Aren't you all going to prepare? The palace master asked confusedly. Like hell, I'll believe you all, you are extremely evil. Seems like you all are going to accept your death, then. I'm going to beat you all to death. Right after finished speaking, the palace master's figure disappeared. Jiang Wuyu and the others were completely unable to react. Why did this palace master suddenly become so serious? Long Chu looked at the fist that was gradually becoming bigger in front of him, and he wanted to stretch out his hand to block the fist or take out his artifact. However, the palace master's speed was too fast, and before I could even raise my hand, the fist had already landed onto my face. Afterward, I no longer have any intuition. Bang! The fist released a berserk airwave, but because the fist was too strong, Long Chu's head directly exploded, and the primordial spirit that was inside the head was also shattered. Instant kill with a single punch. Yihua had killed Dongwang Ci with a single slap earlier, but he had controlled his strength very well, and didn't smash Dongwang Ci's face. However, the palace master smashed Dongwang Ci's face with a single punch. Long Chu died just like that. This was something that Jiang Wuyu and Fu Wen didn't expect. It happened too quickly, and they weren't able to react at all. Is this palace master really that abnormal? However, Jiang Wuyu was thinking in his heart, is this palace master or that man from before the palace master is abnormal? I really don't know. I didn't control myself for a moment. I didn't want to kill him, I just wanted to scare him a bit. The palace master flung away the blood on his hand, and with a tone that carried a bit of innocence, expressing that I didn't kill him on purpose. Jiang Wuyu shouted out angrily, if I continue to believe you, then I will change my surname to yours. Spiritual rush. Jiang Wuyu shouted out angrily, and the formation beneath his feet immediately shone brightly, and a dense aura wrapped around the palace master. Shock could be seen in the palace master's eyes. You all. What is this thing? Jiang Wuyu said coldly, this was specially made for you. Double formation and sword arts. Together with this spiritual rush, it will be able to completely suppress you. After finished speaking, Jiang Wuyu looked towards Fu Wen. What are you still waiting for? Hurry up. Fu Wen came back to his senses and formed a sword art with both hands, and the huge sword's body emitted a red glow. Swoosh! Countless small swords appeared on the sword's body, and instantly, sword intent surged, each sword emitting a terrifying energy. This caused the palace master to be extremely shocked. How did you all know? Fu Wen seemed to have already seen hope. How could it be? You seem to be lying every single time. But when you were talking about this formation, I can see the fear in your eyes. Because you were afraid. Jiang Wuyu replied, feeling very pleased. Back then, his father had used this move to defeat the palace master. This time, he could do it too. No. This palace master isn't afraid of your moves. Back then, it was a mistake. This time, it definitely won't happen again. The palace master shouted angrily with a terrified tone, and his whole body started to struggle, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't break free. Even as he struggled, the formation emitted lightning, forming many electric whips that lashed at him. Crackle, crackle. You're just an arrogant palace master, and you still dare to shit. Go and eat shit. Fu Wen shouted coldly, as if he wanted to shout out all the fear in his heart. When Long Chu died just now, it was too terrifying. That kind of result where he couldn't even react made one's hair stand on end. If that fist had landed on his head just now, the outcome might have been the same. But now, it wouldn't happen again. It was only a moment of carelessness that allowed the palace master to succeed, but this time, he wouldn't hold back anymore. You bastards! How dare you plot against this palace master? What are you all still looking at? Come and save me! The palace master shouted at Luo Qin, his heart-wrenching appearance really shocking everyone. End of this chapter. Chapter 1253. It's useless. No one can save you. What awaits you is blood and death. Your arrogance will bury your life. For the next tens of thousands of years, you will continue to sleep here. Your believers will be tied to a burning rack and burned to ashes. Fu Wen opened his arms, and his powerful voice came out from his mouth. Wei Chang's blood was boiling. It was a pity that this guy didn't become a teacher. Jiang Wuyu was shocked to hear this. You actually thought of this in such a short time. It must be fake. Hey, did you just think of this? Jiang Wuyu asked curiously. No, I thought of it last night. I didn't expect to have a use for it. How is it? Not bad, right? Fu Wen was a little proud. He thought that he wouldn't be able to use it today. Jiang Wuyu nodded. Not bad. This victory declaration is very domineering. It should be like this. But those people are a little tricky, Fu Wen whispered. Jiang Wuyu said in a low voice, I feel that there's something wrong with that smiling guy. He won't be easy to deal with. Yeah, is his face cramping or something? The temple master saw the two chatting and screamed, It hurts. I'm going to kill you. Let me go if you have the guts. Trash. Humph, I thought you were very powerful, but in the end, this is all you amount to. Die. Fu Wen roared, and tens of thousands of flying swords attacked the temple master with a scorching aura. The Hall Master revealed a look of despair as he roared, You traitors, this Hall Master is about to die, but you actually ignored me. Even if this Hall Master becomes a ghost, I will not let you go. And you too, if this Hall Master was not careless, would have killed you with a single punch. Vile people intoxicated by success. Jiang Wuyu laughed loudly. Temple Master, you just came out to take a dump and then went back to hold it in. I'm afraid this time, you won't be able to take a dump anymore. Just you wait. One day, I'll come out and kill all of you, the Temple Master roared. That kind of despair and anger was too tragic. Looking at the countless flying swords, the Temple Master let out a cry as his heart was pierced by the swords. Jiang Wuyu was a little puzzled. Why do you think the Temple Master's subordinates didn't do anything? Did they really betray us? I don't think so. He even knelt down earlier, Fu Wenqingsheng said. He was feeling puzzled as well. Just like that, Wei Chang watched as the palace master's heart was pierced by 10,000 swords. This palace master was such a gray color. Were they taken care of by these small fries? Then why would I, Wei Chang, still be a spy and play tricks? What's going on? Wei Chang asked curiously. Falling Dust laughed softly and said, It's fine. The Hall Master just came out. It's very normal for him to want to play. Can you understand? You call this a game? This Hall Master was a little abnormal. Wei Chang decided to continue watching. However, Lord Ming said in a low voice, What's wrong? Seeing that the Temple Master is dying, you have an idea. Lord Ming, you've misunderstood. I'm just worried about the Palace Master. I'm afraid that something might have happened to the Palace Master, Wei Chang explained with a smile. Humph, I won't believe you. Lord Ming seemed to have made up his mind, and he wouldn't change it even if he was beaten to death. Alright, the Hall Master has appeared. Do you still want to quarrel? Hall Master saw it, where is the propriety? Luo Chen shouted coldly. These two people really did not know the rules. Lord Ming stopped talking. Wei Chang continued to watch the battlefield. At this moment, there were at least countless holes on the Hall Master's body. Blood flowed all over the ground, and he weakly fell to the ground, wailing. How dare you all! You actually injured me like this. The Hall Master fell to the ground, very weak, as though he was about to die. Wei Chang felt a little strange. This Hall Master shouldn't be like this. A layer of black mist condensed in Wei Chang's eyes, and then he smiled slightly. So that's how it was. Jiang Wuyu and Fu Wen landed in front of the Hall Master with smiles on their faces. This was a little too easy. Although it was easy, at least they had severely injured the Hall Master, which was a good thing. It was a pity that Long Chu had accidentally been killed. Otherwise, he would be very happy now. The two of them looked at Long Chu's corpse at the same time. An upper god's head had been smashed by a punch, and his primordial spirit hadn't even had time to come out. Hall Master, look at your subordinates. They are all ignoring you. What a failure, Fu Wen said indifferently. He glanced at Falling Dust and the others. He had a strange feeling, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Jiang Wuyu frowned and looked at Falling Dust and the others. He had a bad feeling in his heart. Let's get rid of them quickly. I feel a little strange, Jiang Wuyu said in a low voice. This sentence also hit the bottom of Fu Wen's heart. They had to get rid of them quickly. Don't you have anything to say? The Hall Master asked weakly. Continue to sleep. Jiang Wuyu shouted coldly, preparing to apply a seal on Fu Wen. However, at this time, the Hall Master laughed. That's not it. I still want to hear what you have to say, but that's it. I'm a little disappointed. As the Hall Master said this, Jiang Wuyu and Fu Wen's expressions changed, and they quickly pulled away. Jiang Wuyu pulled away, but Fu Wen's leg was grabbed by the Hall Master. What? You want to run? How's my acting? The Hall Master's figure changed again. Once again, the golden robe shone with golden light. There wasn't even a crease on it, let alone any injuries. Just a small trick and you all believed it. How sad, the Hall Master said indifferently. That mischievous smile on his face instantly disappeared, replaced by a bloodthirsty one. This was the real Hall Master, and the one just now was definitely a fake. The Hall Master had only used a little bit of a facade. Wei Chang could see through it, but Jiang Wuyu and Fu Wen couldn't. Humph. The current family head is really weak. The Hall Master's left hand suddenly emitted a purple flame. Of course, it was a deviant flame. Fu Wen's expression changed, and his whole body emitted a violent aura. Even so, it was of no use. Death is only an instant. Don't be afraid. Don't ever see me again in your next life. Ah! Fu Wen let out a miserable scream, and his whole body instantly started burning. It was terrifying. The screams gradually disappeared, and in the blink of an eye, Fu Wen was burned to nothing. His primordial spirit flew out. Tue! The Hall Master actually spat at the primordial spirit. However, this different spit accurately stuck to the primordial spirit. The primordial spirit was like the soul, and this spit actually had a strong corrosive effect. Fu Wen's screams resounded between heaven and earth, causing everyone to shudder. Was this the Hall Master? Right now, Jiang Wuyu didn't know what he was doing, where he was, and what exactly was he doing. One's head exploded with a single punch, and the other was burned to death, and his primordial spirit was killed by the spit. Just what kind of person is this? Hall Master. Is this the legendary Hall Master such a person? Right now, Jiang Wuyu didn't even have the slightest bit of desire to fight. The difference between them is too big. End of this chapter. Chapter 1254. This kind of gap wasn't something that could be achieved through self-consolation. It was a kind of courage that didn't even have the courage to lift one's hand. Jiang Wuluo looked up at the sky, and fatigue appeared on her face. For so many years, she had to come here to seal once every month. Every time she came here, she would have to worry. She couldn't even eat well or sleep well. After reinforcing it, he was still thinking about how long he could drag it out. Even though he had already made preparations, but, what's wrong? Are you going to give up just like that? Are you not going to struggle anymore? The palace master was a little unhappy. He hated it when his enemies gave up on him. Look at me. I've been sealed by you for thousands of years. When have I ever given up? Never give up on yourself. If you give up on yourself, who can save you? No one. In this world, you can only rely on yourself. The palace master clenched his fists tightly, and his tone was a little excited, as if he had recalled something. Wei Chang said in a low voice, "Looks like palace master is also a man with a story." Yes, the palace lord had an unforgettable experience when he was young, Falling Dust murmured, as if he had also sunk into his memories. Looks like this Luo Qin had followed the hall master since young. Otherwise, how would he know? Is it convenient to talk about it? Wei Chang asked curiously. Lord Ming directly refused, no way. But Falling Dust said, of course. Falling Dust, are you going to tell him about the palace master? Lord Ming shouted. Wei Chang is now the hall master's subordinate, so it's fine for him to know a bit more. He can also gain a better understanding of the hall master's character, so he won't anger the hall master in the future. Falling Dust's words were quite reasonable, and only Drunken Cry agreed. Lord Ming said again, you will regret this. Luo Qin ignored him. Wei Chang was the future hall master's general, so he had to carry his trust. If he did not say it now, Wei Chang might have other thoughts in his heart. However, even if he didn't say it, Wei Chang had his own thoughts. As a qualified spy, Wei Chang worked his heart out and even deceived everyone. After all, back then, Wei Chang had felt a sense of danger. He had been tricked and wanted to know who was behind these people. After all, the enemy was indeed powerful, especially with the mark on their foreheads. They almost lost control, but they still underestimated themselves. At least they weren't controlled. In order to obtain Luo Qin's trust, not only did he beat up Zhu Tian and his wife, but he also shouted at his honor. However, I, Wei Chang, know that the current his honor is different from the past. His mind is clear, and he definitely knows that he is just pretending to be in the enemy's camp to find out the actual situation. However, what did Yihua know? Wei Chang's acting skills were superb, and he portrayed that traitor to the fullest, to the point that almost everyone believed him. Wei Chang, when the palace lord was young, he was a monkey, Fallen Dust said indifferently. Hall. Wei Chang looked at the hall master in the air. Indeed, what he had done was no different from playing a monkey. That, until Wei T of the hall, Tian. Wei Chang knew that the big missy must have fallen in love with the palace lord, but she looked down on the palace lord because of his birth. The palace lord swore that he would become stronger. Lord Palace Master isn't the kind of person who tries to curry favor with others. He decisively rejected the eldest young lady's confession of love. This is where Lord Palace Master's charm lies. Fallen Dust was extremely emotional. Of wait. I. Thinking back then, when I opened a bar with his honor, there were a lot of young ladies who came to woo me, and some of them even put a price on me. All of them wanted to obtain his honor's love, but his honor rejected all of them. Take note, this is a complete rejection. However, the first young mistress threatened to kill herself, and the palace lord persuaded her with kind words. In the end, she jumped into the pond that was 5 feet deep, and the palace lord jumped in as well. This woman immediately found out the palace lord's intentions. The hall master had no choice but to marry this eldest young miss and play with her like a monkey. Wei Chang Wuyu. Was the monkey really that important? Not long after that, a princess also took a fancy to the palace master who was acting like a monkey. That princess was rude and unreasonable, and humiliated the palace master hundreds of times. Every day, the palace master would act like a monkey for her to see. The palace lord had no choice but to suffer the princess's humiliation. But I know that the palace lord is not happy. Wei Chang thought to himself, like hell I'll believe you. You're probably dying from pleasure. In the end, Hall Master became the emperor's son-in-law, but I knew that Hall Master was not happy. However, not long after, a powerful female sovereign took a fancy to the palace master. Wei Chang knew that the palace lord was just a woman's merchandise. How pitiful. Luo Qin, it's about time, Lord Ming couldn't help but say. However, the more Luo Qin spoke, the more excited he became. I haven't gossiped about the palace master for a long time, and thus, my words couldn't help but float outside. It seems like every subordinate has the heart of a gossipy boss. Yihua's subordinates were the same as well. Gossiping about Yihua had already become a norm. After the palace master followed the female sovereign, his life became even more painful. Every day, he would have sex with the female sovereign, but I know that the palace master was not happy. Every time the palace master was humiliated, he would look at the night sky foolishly. I truly feel sorry for the palace master. While speaking, Luo Qin seemed like he was about to cry, causing Wei Chang's face to stiffen. Lord Luo, how did you know? Furthermore, you know it so clearly. Wei Chang asked curiously. Luo Qin said gravely, because I am that monkey. Wei Chang's expression immediately changed. Ugh. So you are that monkey. My God, you have become a spirit, no wonder you dress up so weirdly. And then? Wei Chang asked curiously. This is much more interesting than me opening a bar with His Honor. I wonder what His Honor would do if he encountered this kind of thing. And then the female sovereign accompanied the palace master to act like a monkey. Wei Chang was puzzled, then asked doubtfully, is acting like a monkey that important? To the palace master, acting like a monkey is his only pleasure. Just that, in the past, he was acting like a monkey, but now, he is playing with people. Luo Chen's expression changed from regret to excitement. After all, the palace master did not play with me anymore. Wei Chang nodded his head. From what happened just now, I can tell that the palace master is very good at playing with people. In a sense, this palace master and His Honor aren't that different. They both like to make people go from despair to hope, and then from hope to despair. They are very similar. However, Wei Chang felt that the palace master and Luo Qin shouldn't be able to become good friends. There was one more thing that Wei Chang had been looking into, and that was why the palace master was targeting me. Furthermore, the palace master had already arranged everything, and was just waiting for me to take the bait. Wei Chang was puzzled and asked Luo Qin, but Luo Qin smiled and didn't say anything. Wei Chang didn't continue asking about it, and he could only wait for the palace master to appear. When the palace master appears, I will inform His Honor and annihilate the palace master in one go. Wei Chang was even fantasizing that His Honor would give me an award, then praise me in front of everyone. After that, I will be a bit more humble and enjoy the envy of others. Therefore, Wei Chang decided to go with the flow and look into what exactly was going on. End of chapter. Chapter 1255. You made it seem as if you were going to succeed, which was why I used such a move. Who would have thought that you wouldn't succeed at all? It's fine if you didn't succeed, but you even threw such an unstable strange flame at me. Do you think it's a joke? At this moment, the temple master could not stop the car at all and directly crashed into it. And right now, the palace lord only wanted to curse out in his heart. QNMB. Boom. A berserk explosion immediately rang out, and Yihua could even feel that the entire air was trembling. The explosion of a strange flame that failed to fuse with a strange flame is truly terrifying. It is even more powerful than that Bobo ball from just now. Seems like I, the Supreme Overlord, am not suited to fuse with strange flames. Forget it. I won't do this anymore in the future. I have wasted 2 kinds of strange flames in one go. It's not worth it at all. To me, these strange flames aren't the strongest. I don't rely on deviant flames to make a living. Along with the explosion of the strange flame, Yihua felt that the space around him had paused. However, this was not a good news, because after pausing, the space around him would shatter into pieces. Who knows if the space around him would be able to withstand the shattering of the space around him, and if the space around him was unable to withstand the shattering of the space around him, that would be bad. Palace Master, this, Wei Chang, don't worry. Everything is under the control of the Palace Master. Falling Dust patted his hand, indicating that Wei Chang could rest assured. Wei Chang almost believed it. Right now, Yihua was rather shocked. After suffering such an injury, he actually didn't die. As a palace master, you deserve the title of Little Cockroach. Good job. When the powerful explosion dissipated, the figure of the palace master appeared. His arm was gone, that long whip was also gone, and half of his face was also sliced off, revealing his spotlessly white teeth. But now, his white teeth were a little scary. Blood kept flowing out. Right at this moment, Wei Chang asked again, should we go and help? No need, Palace Master is precisely using this kind of method to deceive the enemy. In a while, Palace Master will counterattack, and let the enemy know what is called formidable. Falling Dust had a look of worship on his face, causing Wei Chang to really not know what to say. The Palace Master's expression wasn't very good. I was played by this man, slut. Damn slut. What are you guys still standing there for? Hurry up and come over to help, the Hall Master shouted at Falling Dust. Falling Dust cupped his hands and smiled. Hall Master Hong Wei, this subordinate does not dare to interfere. You. The Hall Master seemed to know that this bastard thought that he was acting, so he didn't come forward to help. Come and help. This Hall Master is serious. Joy flashed in Falling Dust's eyes. It had been a long time since the Hall Master had interacted with him like this. Thinking back, that was something that had happened a long time ago. Palace Master, I'm busy. I won't help you. Good luck, Mwak, Palace Master. Wei Chang was simply about to explode from laughter. Yihua didn't know what was going on, but he was a little puzzled. Did all of the Palace Master's subordinates betray him? I only betrayed you, but you have so many traitors. While speaking, Yihua brought out his pink fists. There is a kind of thing called beating people, and it is the kind that can beat people to death. When the Palace Master saw Yihua's actions, he was a bit alarmed. Falling Dust. Hurry up and help. Wei Chang. Lord Ming. Drunken cry. This subordinate wouldn't dare. Falling Dust took the lead and respectfully shouted. The Hall Master was simply angered to the point that he wanted to kill someone. What else do you all not dare to do? I am going to be beaten to death. Yihua twisted his neck and said lightly, prepare to be beaten to death by me. After you die, go down and tell others that I was the one who beat you to death. Perhaps you will still have some face left. After hearing that, the corner of the Hall Master's mouth twitched. Just a while ago, I was still talking to Yi Hua, and now, the Hall Master is actually talking to me. Yi Hua didn't want to be long-winded anymore. This space is going to collapse soon, and for everyone's safety, I have to quickly get rid of this Hall Master. Death strike! Yi Hua shouted out casually, then rushed forward. However, right now, the Hall Master was already unable to resist. If he was able to resist, would he still need to call for reinforcements? Yi Hua's right fist fiercely punched onto the left side of the Hall Master's face, causing the Hall Master's face to become crooked. Under this punch, a powerful aura burst forth, and the aura filled the space that was about to collapse. Is this still a fake? Lord Ming muttered. Falling Dust laughed. Just listen to Hall Master's scream, it sounded so real, I nearly believed it. Wei Chang really couldn't hold it in anymore. Spare me, you idiots. You idiots. The Hall Master let out his final howl, then no longer spoke. After that, he became silent and closed himself off. Yi Hua tightly punched the Hall Master twice, and he felt that the Hall Master was about to die. I didn't expect that my strength seems to have increased by quite a bit. This damned strength, it made me become too outstanding. Right now, even without turning his head back, I am able to feel the little gaze of worship from the Empress. Of course, there is also the worship from my subordinates. Sigh, cough, cough, cough. The Hall Master let out a violent cough. His entire body was already extremely weak. After using 2 big moves, he was already completely exhausted, and he basically didn't have any thoughts of surviving. A bunch of idiots, and they are still watching from the side, while I, the Hall Master, am about to die. Do you have any last words? Yi Hua asked lightly. The Hall Master laughed bitterly. His tone was very soft. It wasn't that he didn't want to say it out loud, but rather, he wasn't able to say it out loud. I am just going to die before you, don't be happy too early. After the Hall Master said this sentence, even more blood flowed out from the Hall Master's body. I am immortal, even if the heavens are gone, I will still exist. Yi Hua snorted in disdain. Cursing me to die, you all can only do this. The Hall Master laughed. No one can be immortal. Do you think that I am speaking nonsense? Just that I didn't tell you, back then, that fortune teller told me that if I were to die in the hands of a powerful person, then, that powerful opponent would also die not long after. How trustworthy is the words of a fortune teller? Basically 0. Yi Hua said in disdain, indicating that I don't believe in things like fate. Fate is something that is grasped in one's own hands. Whether or not one can change one's fate is not something that can be decided by sitting and waiting. Rather, one has to fight for it, even if one has to use unscrupulous means. Yi Hua, you are called Yi Hua, right? The Hall Master said with a slight smile. You speak as if you don't know what my name is. Did Wei Chang not tell you? Yi Hua said coldly. Even at death's door, you are still trying to act mysterious. Wei Chang really didn't tell me, but Yi Hua felt that Wei Chang might have told me before. Him. He didn't tell me, it was that fortune teller who told me. I have never told him about this matter, because when that fortune teller told me that I might die, I didn't believe it either, and that's why I came to look for you. However, I didn't expect that fortune teller to be so formidable. Yi Hua. I will wait for you in the deepest part of hell. At that time, I will definitely win against you. Chapter 1256. Yi Hua was originally very happy, but after hearing this other kind of curse, even I became a bit gloomy. I nearly believed in you. I have seen too many people like this, telling you unrealistic things before death, causing you to live in worry. I dare to ask in this world, who else is capable of shaking me? Come on, you won't be able to see me in your entire life. Yihua stretched out his palm, and the palace master's head was ruthlessly grabbed onto Yihua's palm. He. Yihua, strong people have their own fate. I will die in your hands, but who will you die in? I am very curious, also. My name is Hao Nyobi, remember it. You sure talk a lot of bullshit. You are even more awesome. Yihua immediately clapped his palm, and the palace master's head immediately exploded. Of course, Yihua wouldn't let go of the palace master's primordial spirit and directly destroyed it. All in all, Yihua felt that this battle was still very easy, there was no difficulty at all, he just let his guard down for a bit. As for the palace master's final curse, if I believe you, then what difference is there between me and an idiot? At this moment, Lord Ming asked, could it be that this is fake? Fallen Dust was a bit stupefied. Right now, I don't know if this is real or fake, the palace master's head is gone, and his primordial spirit is also destroyed. The conversation between the two just now was very soft, other than the two of them, no one else heard it. Wei Chang, Qing Su, make your move. Yihua transformed into his human form and said faintly. Wei Chang went into a daze. Doesn't your honor need me to investigate that fortune teller? After all, that is a mystery. Following what Yihua said, Fallen Dust and the others turned their heads and looked towards Wei Chang with doubtful gazes. And Wei Chang felt that when the palace master died, the mark on his forehead seemed to have disappeared. Seems like the mark was a trick of the palace master. I thought that it was something else. I knew it. Fallen Dust. I knew it. This bastard is a spy. You don't believe me. Lord Ming was the first to react, and he shouted at Fallen Dust. After finished speaking, Lord Ming continued shouting, do you know that the palace master is dead now? Didn't you say that the palace master was acting? He had played himself to death. You idiot, you actually didn't believe me. Do you regret it now? Falling Dust had an abrupt expression as he called out softly, Hall Master, stop playing around. Return it. Luo Chen had always been following the Hall Master. In Luo Chen's heart, the Hall Master was a person who knew how to play. If he didn't play for a day, he would feel uncomfortable all over. But today, Palace Master actually went overboard, and I even thought that, even now, the Palace Master's miserable cry for help was still echoing in his ears, and he was actually laughing. How would I still have the face to meet the Palace Master? Say something. Idiot. Lord Ming shouted at Luo Qin. Earlier on, when the Palace Master had asked for help, he had actually remained indifferent. As a subordinate, this was a dereliction of duty. However, right now, Falling Dust fell into a state of deep self-blame. So, Wei Chang has been a spy all along. Even Lord Ming was able to see through it, and I foolishly thought that, I'm really so stupid, Lord Luo. Drunken Ming called out in a low voice. He wanted to stretch out his hand and hold on to Luo Chen's hand, but he didn't dare to. Falling Dust raised his head and looked towards Yihua with deep hatred in his eyes. Today is the day that the Palace Master is going to come out. However, it is also the day that the Palace Master is going to leave forever. This is not something that I want to see. I'm going to kill you. Falling Dust shot out explosively, and a sharp sword materialized in his hand. That kind of madness and roar made people feel emotional. Different standpoints, different thoughts. Towards Falling Dust's current state, Yihua was able to understand. However, a win is a win, the loser must die. This kind of thing had happened to me in the past, that's why I reflected on myself. I blamed myself. Yihua slowly raised his left hand. Clang! The sharp sword slashed onto Yihua's palm, letting out an ear-piercing sound, and a huge shockwave spread outwards. For those who dare to challenge me, I will naturally give respect. I will use absolute strength to kill you. Clang! Clang! The sharp sword in Falling Dust's hand was broken by Yi Hua. The broken sword fell from the sky, and it seemed so weak and unwilling. At this moment, Falling Dust closed his eyes, because he knew that this was undoubtedly suicide. Yi Hua wouldn't be soft-hearted. If I let the enemy off now, that would be disrespecting the enemy. Yi Hua aimed his right palm towards Falling Dust's face and said faintly, "Exterminate." After saying the word, "exterminate," a terrifying red flame sprayed out and directly engulfed Falling Dust's head, and even his primordial spirit dissipated. Meanwhile, the red flame rushed into the hole in space and disappeared. Falling Dust's corpse slowly fell onto the ground, and Drunken Cry directly walked over and hugged onto Falling Dust's corpse. Perhaps, only by doing this, Drunken Cry dared to hold onto Falling Dust's corpse's palm that still had some residual warmth. "Wei Chang! I'm going to kill you!" Lord Ming shouted out angrily, then turned around and rushed towards Wei Chang. However, who was Wei Chang? Lord Ming wasn't Wei Chang's opponent at all. Before Lord Ming's fist could even touch Wei Chang, it was swallowed by Wei Chang. Lord Ming didn't give Lord Ming any chance at all. At this point, the matter was more or less over. Wei Chang walked respectfully towards Yi Hua. "Your Honor, subordinate has returned." Yi Hua patted onto Wei Chang's shoulder and said lightly, "You have worked hard. Subordinate only feels honored to be able to work for your honor. Your bootlicking ability is getting more and more formidable." Yi Hua laughed lightly. At this moment, Qing Su, who was sitting on Do Fusher, came over. "Gluttonous monster, I thought that you had betrayed us, so I was preparing to get rid of you. Qing Su, you have become so fat, you need to lose some weight." Wei Chang smiled faintly. Wei Chang's personality had changed back. Lose weight? That doesn't exist. In actuality, the temptation of delicacies is much stronger. About that, big brother. I can't carry you anymore. Do Fusher said weakly. "Carry me. If I fall to my death, you will have to take responsibility," Qing Su said solemnly. Do Fusher, Yi Hua walked in front of Donghuang Baiji and held on to her pure white hands. "Are you worried?" "I'm worried," Donghuang Baiji said tenderly. "Let's go home." Yi Hua lightly caressed onto Donghuang Baiji's cheek. "I feel that my state of mind has improved a bit today. Compared to the supreme position, the people around me are still more important. Mother, wife, child, and a group of loyal subordinates. These are the people that I, the Supreme Overlord, should be protecting. And, let's go home," Donghuang Baiji said lightly, and her eyes were filled with love. At this moment, Wei Chang walked over and said respectfully, Your Honor's wife, that person." Yi Hua turned his head around and looked towards Drunken Cry. Drunken Cry was currently hugging onto Fallen Dust's corpse and floating in the air. "Let's go," Yi Hua said faintly. Soon after, he lightly waved his hand, and everyone disappeared from the air, leaving behind only Drunken Cry. While hugging onto Fallen Dust's corpse, Drunken Cry revealed out a poignant smile. Drunken Cry lightly leaned onto Fallen Dust's chest and felt the faint remaining warmth of Fallen Dust's body. Chapter 1257. Inside Wushu Empire's palace, Yi Hua appeared with everyone. For this trip to the 9 provinces and 5 seas, Yi Hua had settled everything. He found Qing Su and Wei Chang, who was acting. He even killed a powerful palace master. However, Yi Hua didn't take the palace master's curse to heart, and he didn't want to take it to heart either. "There are too many people who have cursed me, and one more won't make a difference. Some arrogant curses won't come true at all. However, for such a big 9 provinces and 5 seas to be gone just like that, I do feel a bit regretful. The fights between experts will bring harm to the innocent people. I will pray for those kind people, but for those evil people, you all can just go to hell." That is where you all belong. Let's have a meeting. Yihua shouted out lightly. This shout wasn't for everyone, it was for 7 deadly sins. After so many years, they are finally gathered together. Although the process was a bit difficult, it was still daunting without any mishaps. Especially this Wei Chang's betrayal, he actually tricked me. One must say, his acting is too good. The first to arrive was Zhu Tian. When Zhu Tian saw Wei Chang, his face twitched. Wei Chang. You traitor, I will kill you. You actually dared to hit my wife. However, Pig Liver Donkey dragged Zhu Tian along. What are you trying to kill? Can't you see that gluttonous monster is back to normal? Brett also appeared, but he didn't give Wei Chang a good look. Even now, he still remembers that Wei Chang bullied me. The facts have proven that Wei Chang is stronger than me. Yi Zizi also came. Yi Zizi was sucking on a lollipop and walking slowly. She was always wearing a gorgeous princess dress. Everyone, long time no see. When Qing Su saw everyone, he shouted out. Who is this? Why is he so fat? Yi Zizi muttered. The two of them were simply the cutest size. Yi Zizi's size was the smallest, while Qing Su's size was the biggest. Qing Su turned his head and looked towards Yi Zizi. His gaze was also filled with tenderness. This isn't love, this is a type of doting. After all, in the entire team, there were only 2 females, Yi Zizi and Brett. Brett was only interested in Zhu Tian, and the others didn't talk to him. Yi Zizi was different, and she could be considered as the person that everyone doted on. Fatty Qing Su, how did you manage to eat so much food into your stomach? This is way too exaggerated. Yi Zizi couldn't help but say. She even poked Qing Su's stomach. However, Qing Su only chuckled. Only Yi Zizi would dare to do such a thing. Qing Su wouldn't be angry. If it were Wei Chang or Absolute Heaven trying it out, they would definitely become hostile immediately. F***CK, you are Qing Su, I really didn't recognize you at first glance. The pig liver centipede cried out in surprise, pointed at Qing Su, and said blankly. Qing Su patted onto his stomach and said with a smile, pig liver meat, I didn't recognize you at all. You actually became so skinny, but you are still ugly, pig liver macaque. Looking at his subordinates ridiculing each other, Yihua felt very gratified in his heart. This is what a big family should be like. Right now, Wei Chang was very puzzled. Could it be that his honor doesn't know that I am pretending? Why did they still think that he had betrayed them? Gluttonous monster, I heard that you betrayed us. Why did you come back? I was going to kill you. What a pity. Yi Zizi pouted and picked up the gravel under her feet. Wei Chang was very speechless. However, he still had to say something. Zhu Tian, Brett, I am truly sorry for what happened that day. At that time, I was hiding among the enemy's ranks, and there were people observing me from the side. That's why I had no choice but to injure you too. Wei Chang expressed his apology. Zhu Tian naturally wasn't willing to accept Wei Chang's apology. The meaning behind Wei Chang's words is as if he is able to fight against the 2 of us alone. That is because you took advantage of me being unprepared. Zhu Tian wasn't willing to accept Wei Chang's apology. Pig Liver Macaque poked the limestone under his feet, then raised his head and looked at the others, then said faintly, I was very weak to begin with. Zhu Tian, Pig Liver Macaque. That's enough. Do you want to have a fight with me? Come on, I am afraid of you. Pig Liver Macaque was waiting for his honor to say these words. Right now, saying these words in front of his honor gave me even more courage. It's a pity that Dongfang Yuan isn't here. If Big Sister Yu is here, she would definitely be mesmerized by my figure. Yihua didn't stop Pig Liver Macaque. A team needs this kind of quarreling sound. This is what a team should be like. In the past, when we don't quarrel with each other, we don't care about each other at all. Roar. A dragon's roar resounded throughout the world, and Lai Gu's enormous figure shrouded the sky above Wushu Empire, then descended down from the sky. Qing Su. You son of a bitch. I am going to bite you. Lai Gu was feeling very gloomy. After so many days and months, I have a wife, yet I am unable to return home. I have to sleep in that valley that is filled with mosquitoes, and I am about to freeze to death. However, the main culprit is this Qing Su. If it wasn't for him, would I be able to transform into my original form and scare a child? At this moment, Yihua had no choice but to stop Lai Gu. Alright, Lai Gu, since Qing Su is back, he will naturally be able to detoxify the poison in your body. Yihua said faintly. Your Honor, he has to compensate me then. Just how many nights and nights have I lost these past few days? Lai Gu was about to cry. That feeling of having a wife but being unable to get close to her, I even want to die. What's the point of having a wife? Qing Su said faintly, recently, I have concocted a few non-falling pills, how about I compensate you with this? Hearing that, Yihua went into a daze, but he didn't say anything. After hearing that, Lai Gu thought for a while, then said, all right then, hurry up and detoxify the poison in my body. Not knowing what method Qing Su used, Lai Gu turned into a human form, and it seemed as if he was controlling the human form with his consciousness. Looking at himself turning into a human hand, and even pulling down his crotch to take a look, Lai Gu was extremely excited. I have never been like this before. I hope to become a human, a normal man. Where's the medicine? Lai Gu naturally wouldn't let go of any chance. After having so many wives, I am starting to feel a bit powerless. Luckily, I have recently turned into a dragon, and I can finally stop for a while. Looking at Yu Hua and the others, they would occasionally come over to take a look at me, that resentment, but you guys don't know, I am feeling terrible in my heart. Lai Gu couldn't wait to hide for a while, but in the end, his honor called me, and I had no choice but to appear. After seeing Qing Su, I can only act pitiful. After all, a guild is a gossipy guild, and the matter that happened will definitely be spread out. At that time, if Yu Hua were to find out about it, she would definitely use domestic violence on me. Yu Hua is really different from the time when we were together. She is really savage to the extreme. Here. Qing Su tossed a bottle of medicine to Lai Gu. However, Yihua's gaze had been staring at the bottle of medicine. The facts had proven that a man's masculinity is really unrelated to strength. Even the powerful Yihua had to think about it. Lai Gu happily received the bottle of medicine. Wei Chang, what the hell? Didn't you betray me? Wei Chang didn't speak anymore. I can't be bothered to speak anymore. You guys, we have been together for so long, and yet, you still think that I betrayed you. At this moment, Yihua said faintly, everyone, quiet down for a bit. Gather. Everyone from the 7 deadly sins stood in a row. There isn't anyone in the center. Chapter 1258. Standing at the very front was Wei Chang. Beside Wei Chang was Lai Gu. Next to Lai Gu was Yi Zizi. Next to Yi Zizi was Zhu Tian. Next to Zhu Tian was Brett. Next to Brett was Qing Su. Next to Qing Su was Pig Liver Ting. Yihua swept his gaze across everyone. His gaze was fiery. It has been more than 10 years, I finally gathered all of my subordinates. The last time I saw them was during the final battle. Thinking about it, the memory of them was still fresh in my mind. Right now, I can still clearly remember that they are all standing right in front of me. Only, some of them became fat, and some of them became thin. This contrast is really interesting. Looking at His Honor's fiery gaze, the subordinates were a little infected. Later on, His Honor is definitely going to say some heroic words to motivate the entire team. Wei Chang was thinking, His Honor is definitely thinking about how to praise me. To say in front of everyone, Wei Chang, you have done well this time. In the future, everyone must look up to Wei Chang. Wei Chang's eyes shone brightly. His Honor, don't praise me too much, just average will do. Come, His Honor. Yi Hua took a deep breath and shouted out gravely. Attention! The subordinates of the 7 deadly sins, at ease. Look to the right. Look to the front. At ease, I will say a few words. Everyone, however, before Yi Hua could even start speaking, Kai Yun suddenly ran over. His Honor, quickly come and take a look, there are a lot more people in Wushu Empire. Yi Hua went into a daze. He walked over to Kai Yun's side and looked at the entire Wushu Empire. From what I remember, the streets of Wushu Empire have never been packed with people. But now, every single street is packed with people, and those people are quite strong. I can even see the people inside the spirit beasts. What situation is this? Yi Hua asked gravely. At this moment, Luo Ho, who rushed over, said respectfully, His Honor, just a while ago, a lot of people suddenly appeared. They claimed to be people from the 9 provinces and 5 seas. Hearing those words, Yi Hua immediately understood, it should be Meng Yao, after all, only she knows about Wushu Empire. With Meng Yao's personality, she would definitely choose to save people. Where is Meng Yao? Yi Hua asked. Luo Ho took a look at Kai Yun. Kai Yun did not say anything, and this caused Yi Hua to slightly frown. I'm asking you. Yi Hua's tone couldn't help but become a lot heavier, and a bad premonition could be felt in his heart. Kai Yun said respectfully, Your Honor, within the crowd, there is a woman who calls herself Meng Li. She said that Meng Yao has already, call that person over. I want to ask him personally. Yi Hua said gravely. No matter what, Meng Yao can be counted as half of Yi Hua's sister-in-law. Although Meng Yao's relationship with Yi Hua has already been blown up, I, the Supreme Overlord, am still able to see that Meng Yao actually still likes Yi Hua. Furthermore, with Meng Yao's strength, she could have easily dodged the attack. How could she have possibly died? Even I wouldn't believe such a thing. Yes. Your Honor. Luo Ho immediately went to call Meng Li. Yi Hua looked at the black mass of people, and his expression was very grave. Originally, he should have been happy about this matter, but along with this piece of news, his mood became incomparably depressed. The 7 subordinates could also sense His Honor's displeasure. Those who didn't understand the twists and turns of the matter were very curious, and those who understood were able to understand. After all, she could be considered as His Honor's sister-in-law. Not long after, Luo Ho brought the pale Meng Li over. Yi Hua looked at Meng Li, and Meng Li was also sizing up Yi Hua. This person in front of me is the big brother emperor that Meng Yao talked about. From the looks of it, his bearing is indeed extraordinary, and his little brother is also not far off from him. No wonder Meng Yao would be concerned about him, it isn't without reason. Furthermore, since he has appeared, that palace master should have already died. He is truly very powerful. Where's Meng Yao? Yi Hua asked coldly. Meng Li's expression immediately became sorrowful when Yi Hua mentioned Meng Yao. Meng Yao stayed behind and sent me over. Why did she stay behind? Why didn't she leave? Yi Hua asked gravely. Meng Yao wanted to protect her people, that's why she stayed behind. Meng Li said with a sorrowful look on her face. Encountering this kind of thing, Meng Li had no other choice. Yi Hua sensed for a bit. Right now, I am completely unable to sense the existence of the 9 provinces and 5 seas. The entire space has already collapsed. Meng Yao died. How am I going to explain this to my little brother? When my little brother asks about this, Yi Hua let out a breath. Your Honor, how are we going to settle these people? Luo Ho asked in a low voice. Yi Hua said faintly, settle them however you want. Yes. Luo Ho accepted the order and left. Yi Hua took a deep breath. Tomorrow morning is a routine meeting. I do not want to see anyone late. Yes. All of Luo Ho's subordinates shouted out. Meng Li looked at the 7 people behind Yi Hua, and her expression didn't look very good. Because, the feeling that these 7 people are giving me, is very terrifying, as if they are able to pinch me to death with a single hand. Yi Hua rubbed his forehead and walked to Dong Huang Baiji's side. What's wrong? Weren't you very happy just now? Dong Huang Baiji asked confusedly as she pressed onto Yi Hua's temples with her hands. Yi Hua said faintly, Meng Yao died. Ah. Meng Yao died. How is that possible? With her strength, she shouldn't be able to do that, if she wanted to run away. Dong Huang Baiji was confused. Sigh, Meng Yao is still so kind, no matter what her identity is, she is still the same. Yi Hua said faintly. Dong Huang Baiji seemed to be able to hear something from Yi Hua's words. Meng Yao is still that Yi, just that if little Tian were to find out about this matter, he would definitely feel terrible. Yi Hua, how about you go and rest for a bit? Dong Huang Baiji said tenderly. Go and sleep for a bit, think about what we should do in the future. Yi Hua suddenly felt a bit tired. This kind of fatigue was indeed caused by Meng Yao's death. After all, by Yi Hua's side, there was no one who died. As long as I wanted to stay, I would definitely be able to stay, not even the Heavenly Emperor would be able to bring them away. However, what about Meng Yao? There was simply nothing that could be done. The space had already collapsed, and even Yi Hua was unable to do anything about it. Dong Huang Baiji let out a light sigh. Originally, I thought that Yi Hua would be happy today. After all, I killed a palace master and even gathered all of my subordinates. Such an important day, what a pity. Dong Huang Baiji decided to go and cook a meal to comfort Yi Hua. I don't know how I am going to explain this to my little brother. After Yi Hua left, the 7 subordinates loosened up. After all, in front of his honor, the 7 subordinates were still very cautious and did not dare to say anything excessive. Especially now that his honor was in a bad mood, if they were to say anything excessive, they would be scolded by his honor. I think it is better for me to go back and find my wives. Bye-bye everyone. Lai Gu still missed his wives a lot. Other than Yi Hua, there are still 3 of them, you know. Zhu Tian said, those 3 wives of yours went out to train. Chapter 1259. Training. Lai Gu was puzzled. Those 3 women went to train. What is training? Brett added, they wanted to cure your poison, so they chose to go train. Isn't it just training? Where did they go? Lai Gu had an indifferent look on his face. No wonder they didn't appear during this period of time, it was always Yi Hua who came over to chat with me. That place is filled with prehistoric beasts. Lai Gu originally had an indifferent look on his face, but after hearing what Zhu Tian said, he immediately froze. I naturally know that place, it doesn't matter if I go there, but, if they go there, it will be very dangerous. Prehistoric beasts are also divided into different levels. Some of the rare prehistoric beasts are very ferocious. If one is not careful, one will die. Brett said faintly, a lot of people went there. Tang Wei went there too. Just as Wei Chang was about to leave to find Tang Wei, he immediately stopped his footsteps, then looked towards Brett and asked gravely, you said that Tang Wei went there too? That's right, Green and Red brothers, Li Hun, Sun Fang and the others all went there, and of course, his honor's younger brother went there too. Brett said in a low voice. Wei Chang immediately wanted to teleport over to take a look at Tang Wei, but Zhu Tian immediately stopped him. His honor said that no one is allowed to go and help, but you don't have to worry, I have been watching their every move. Although they look a bit battered right now, they won't die. Zhu Tian hurriedly persuaded. Wei Chang didn't go over forcefully, because this was Yi Hua's order, and Wei Chang didn't dare to disobey. Meanwhile, Dou Fusher, who was not far away, was already stupefied. My wife actually went there, why is this happening? Luckily, Great God Zhu Tian said that they are fine, that's good enough. What everyone doesn't know is that Zhu Tian had only described it briefly, and in actuality, it wasn't battered, it was miserable. At this very moment, inside a dark cave, no one dared to light up the cave, fearing that they would attract prehistoric beasts. This group of people naturally came here to train, to be more precise, they came here to seek death. Although they were still alive, all of them had severe injuries on their bodies, especially Yi Juetian. A scar had appeared on that handsome face of his, and the scar extended from his left forehead all the way to his lower jaw. This appearance of Yi Juetian made people feel that he wasn't that sissy anymore, and instead, he had a bit of iron-blooded manliness. The scars on a man's body were still very sexy. Apart from the scar on his face, Yi Juetian couldn't even raise his left arm. Blood flowed continuously, and he was currently circulating his energy to treat his injuries. The others were about the same. The group of people had been here for many days, but the total time they had spent here was definitely less than 10 hours. As soon as he arrived in this world, he actually landed on the head of a primordial beast. In ordinary planes, the great desolate beasts would usually appear one by one. However, Yi Juetian finally knew that the great desolate beasts here were all in groups. They wouldn't let people live at all. Everyone only thought about one thing every day, and that was how to survive. Tang Wei, are you all right? Wandering Soul asked in concern when he saw Tang Wei clutching her stomach. Tang Wei shook her head, I'm fine. Is the injury on your back healed? Almost done. Tang Wei lightly sighed. This place was indeed very scary. Everyone had searched for a long time before they found such a safe cave. At this moment, Yi Juetian said gravely, brothers, we don't have a lot of medicine left, we have to use it sparingly from now on. Without any major injuries, we can't use medicine. At this moment, LV Liang muttered, if I knew that it would be like this, I would have brought more medicine over. Yi Hong let out a long breath, big brother, the medicine will be used up one day. We are here to gain experience. If there is no life and death experience, how can it still be called experience? Yo, I didn't expect that you would become a lot calmer. Yi Hong said in a low voice, time can change a person. Don't pretend to be deep, do you think that big brother doesn't know you? LV Liang patted on his little brother's shoulder, and the latter immediately lowered his head. Even this was seen through. Can I, Yi Hong, not be able to get rid of my comical nature? Be quiet, don't attract the ferocious beasts over. The green and red brothers nodded their heads and did not speak anymore. The ferocious beasts in this place are too peculiar. You would never have thought that a blood-sucking mosquito might be a ferocious beast. The ant beneath your feet might also be a ferocious beast. Also, all of the bamboos in the bamboo forest might not be a ferocious beast. If someone with trypophobia were to see those bamboos, their face would become deathly pale from fright. Therefore, the group of people had to pay attention to a lot of things. How is it? Tang Wei asked concernedly. Did not have any strength previously, but Zhu Tian was not at ease, so he gave her a bit of strength. At the very least, she would be able to protect herself. Dongfang Yu was the weakest, so everyone took care of her. Although she had injuries on her body, it was not a lot. However, this made Dongfang Yu feel uncomfortable. Everyone was working very hard, and I don't need special care. Look at that arm of Yi Juetian's, it was caused by him blocking the ferocious beast's attack for Dongfang Yu. If I don't help her, Dongfang Yu would have died. Yi Juetian didn't want to see anyone leave. Big Brother is their boss, and although I am not, I cannot throw Big Brother's face. Sun Fang didn't speak the entire time, her head was lowered, and she seemed to be thinking about something. In actuality, Yi Juetian's state of mind was uneasy today, and danger signals kept appearing in his head. Yi's appearance and Yi's cries would also appear in his head. If it was possible, Yi Juetian really wanted to see Yi. Perhaps, this is the motivation for me to continue living. Just when everyone was resting, armored bugs suddenly emerged from the depths of the damp cave. These bugs were just like bugs in feces, causing people to feel very uncomfortable. However, the problem was that these bugs were not moving alone, and were moving in groups. Furthermore, these armored bugs that were so small were also a type of ferocious beast. In the darkness, everyone didn't seem to have seen the armored bugs. However, in an instant, over 1,000 armored bugs were lying on the top of the karst cave, and below them were Yi Juetian and the others. Perhaps you might think that it is impossible for an ant to do so, but when the number of armored bugs reached a peak, then even an elephant would be pushed over. Don't look down on any opponent, this was the basic principle. Out of over 1,000 armored bugs, there would definitely be a few that were unreliable. For example, this armored bug was unable to endure it any longer and thus took a dump. It just so happened to land on the back of Yi Hong's hand, and Yi Hong could clearly feel that an unknown liquid had landed on the back of Yi Hong's hand. If it was in the past, I can completely ignore it, but where is this place? I have to pay attention to every single detail. Yi Hong sniffed the unknown liquid that was on the back of Yi Hong's hand, and the smell that was on the back of Yi Hong's hand was a bit abnormal. Chapter 1260. Big Brother, there seems to be something above us. Yi Hong said in a low voice. Everyone became vigilant, and even their heartbeats became much faster. Following Yi Hong's words, everyone became serious, and they didn't even dare to raise their heads. Everyone was using sound transmissions to talk to each other. Run. Yi Hong said gravely. Other than running, there doesn't seem to be any other way out. Yi Juetian took a glance upwards and immediately saw densely packed bugs. These bugs actually know how to conceal their aura, and they don't even know that they are above us. That densely packed made people feel disgusted, and if it was someone with trypophobia who saw this scene, they would definitely feel very uncomfortable and might even vomit. Especially the women at the scene, when they saw this scene, their entire bodies felt cold. In this plane, the big prehistoric ferocious beasts might not be that scary, but the most scary ones were the small ones, because there were a lot of small ones, there were a few times more than the big ones. Just like right now, every single one of them was a prehistoric ferocious beast. If they were to attack, the consequences would be hard to imagine. I originally thought that this karst cave would be very safe, but it turns out that it was all an illusion. Looking at the dark night outside, Yi Juetian knew that both sides were very dangerous, and the outside at night was even scarier. However, right now, there was only one choice. And that was to run. Yi Juetian told everyone, 3 seconds from the countdown, run out without any regard for your life, and don't ever turn back. Everyone knew that facing so many prehistoric ferocious beasts, they could only run, there was no chance of winning at all. Following Yi Juetian's countdown, everyone burst out with an unprecedented strength and ran with all their might. However, the thousands of bugs seemed to be letting out low roars, and their delicious prey actually ran away. In the dark night, they were just like a group of locusts, letting out buzzing sounds as they chased after one another under the moonlight. Luckily, everyone's speed was not slow, and the distance between them was gradually increasing. Finally, everyone let out a sigh of relief. They seemed to have stopped chasing. Wen Xia said in a low voice as she tightly wrinkled her brows. Everyone did not feel happy just because the bugs stopped chasing. On the contrary, their expressions became even more grave. The reason why they stopped chasing was because they came to someone else's territory, and even they did not dare to provoke them. Everyone, be careful. Yi Juetian shouted out gravely. Right now, Yi Juetian had the aura of a leader, and under this kind of tempering, there was still an effect. Everyone slightly increased their flying altitude, but they didn't dare to fly too high, because there was a possibility that there were prehistoric ferocious beasts in the clouds. In this place, there was nothing that you could not think of. There was a possibility that even those unremarkable rocks on the roadside could be prehistoric ferocious beasts. However, there were very few great desolate divine beasts here. Everyone wanted to find a place where great desolate divine beasts resided. Only then would they be slightly safer. At least he could sleep well at night. Just when everyone felt a little safer, a terrifying aura came from below. Only to see a bright red unknown object attack. Its speed was so fast that it left people speechless, directly entangling Dongfang Yuer's delicate body. His reaction was still the fastest, and he directly pulled Dongfang Yuer's hand. Yi Juetian immediately drew his saber and slashed towards the unknown object with a powerful saber chi. However, it did not break and only left behind a thin gash. A howl sounded out from below, as if it was in great pain, and it let go of Dongfang Yuer. This is a tongue. LV Liang exclaimed as he saw the mucus on the tongue. Yi Hong lowered her head to take a look. There seemed to be something jumping below. It looked like a stone, and there were a lot of them. There were at least 100 of them. After a few breaths of time, everything stopped moving. However, their heads faced the crowd and opened their bloody mouths. Run! Yi Juetian did not even think and immediately shouted. These were most likely iron demon frogs. In the book that Big Brother gave him, it was recorded that the tongues of these terrifying great desolate beasts were extremely powerful. From what he saw just now, it could be seen that his weapon could only leave a shallow wound on their tongues. Their tongues were their strongest weapons. They could be long or short, and they could even spin 360 degrees without any blind spots. That kind of terror was unimaginable. He even noted that if he met these monsters, he could only run and not think about anything else. Over 100 red tongues attacked towards the sky, as if they were missiles, bringing with them a terrifying aura. Everyone took out their weapons and dodged the sticky tongues. At the tip of the tongues, there was an extremely sticky liquid, and as long as one came into contact with it, they would probably have to cut off their tongues to escape. Just now, Dongfang Yuer's was only let go. To everyone, the tongues that were rising in a straight line were very easy to dodge, however, everyone miscalculated. Right after they dodged, the tongues actually turned around and floated away. Furthermore, the trajectory of the tongues this time was very hard to fathom. After all, there were over 100 tongues, and even their escape routes were all sealed off. Kill! Yi Juetian shouted out angrily. There was no other way, they could only kill. It wasn't that everyone had never encountered this kind of situation before, and they were basically surrounded and attacked every single time. However, this time, it seemed like it was a bit troublesome. The tongues were too powerful. When everyone's weapons slashed onto the tongues, sparks were even emitted out. When everyone's weapons slashed onto the weak points of the tongues, they only managed to leave behind a slight wound, and this only angered these great desolate beasts. Everyone was indescribably shocked. Are these great desolate beasts or not? How can there be such monsters? Ah! Yi Juetian suddenly cried out miserably. His entire body was trapped by 3 tongues, and he was unable to move at all. Following that, Yi Juetian's line of defense failed, and Wen Xia and Bai Xiaojun were also entangled in battle. With 3 less lines of defense, the entire team was facing a huge danger. Yi Juetian used all of his strength to break through, but it was still useless. The green and red brothers wanted to go and save Bai Xiaozhen, but there were over 10 tongues that were currently tightening around them. Everyone fell into an incomparably difficult situation. After going through so many near-death experiences, we still ended up failing today. These damnable tongues, to think that they are actually this stubborn. If I had known earlier, I would have fought with those bugs just now, and maybe I would have been able to find an opportunity to kill them. How are we supposed to break through these tongues? Li Hun shouted out. Everyone knew that all of the great desolate beasts had a weakness, and as long as we find the weakness and kill the great desolate beasts with a single move, everything would be fine. However, there was still a need for a process. After all, how could it be that easy to find the weakness of the great desolate beasts? The long sword in Sun Fang's hand transformed into a few sword qi, but the sword qi was only able to slightly slow down the speed of the tongues, and was unable to harm the tongues at all. In actuality, this region was a no-fly zone, but just now, we were running for our lives. Who would have the time to care about anything else? As long as we are able to fly in the sky, we would be able to slowly torture these great desolate beasts. Every single great desolate beasts had their own strengths and weaknesses. For example, what about close combat? The space that these tongues had to move around in would be greatly reduced, and if we were to move around in a more coquettish manner, we would be able to make them entangle with each other. Chapter 1261. Here, not only did one have to rely on strength, they also had to rely on their brains. However, no one had the time to think about this problem. They were given too little time. A minute later, all of them were entangled, causing them to feel despair. Big brother! Yi Hong shouted out while looking at her big brother LV Tao, who was at the side. LV Liang felt a bit guilty. Xiao Hong, big brother is useless. I've let down my sister-in-law. Don't say any more, big brother. This is my own decision. Being able to die together with big brother is already worth it. Just that, I didn't get the chance to apologize to Zishan. Yi Hong sighed softly. She knew that there was no hope of escaping in this situation. These toads were simply too abnormal. They were no match for them in the air. Tang Wei, Li Hun, Sun Fang, Still Yi, and the others were all thinking about their own men. The first 3 either betrayed and kidnapped, and the one with broken bones directly turned into a gigantic dragon. However, they still chose to come over. Their courage was commendable. Yi Juetian was also wrapped around fiercely, unable to move. His gaze carried a hint of a distorted expression, as if he was unwilling to die just like that. However, just as Yi Juetian was struggling, the power in his body was gradually fading away. Yi Juetian turned pale with fright. These prehistoric ferocious beasts are actually able to absorb the power of their prey, causing their prey to be unable to struggle or resist. Everyone felt their strength gradually draining away, and their bodies became limp. However, their minds were still clear, and they knew that they were doomed. Right now, Yi Juetian didn't have any other choice, and the first thing that appeared in his mind was his mother. I can't be filial to my mother anymore, and there's still big brother. In the future, I'll have to rely on big brother to take care of my mother. Yi's figure also appeared. If it's possible, I really want to say, I'm sorry, in front of Yi. Finally, there was Gong Yu. This woman had sacrificed too much for him. It was his responsibility to take care of her. However, from the looks of it now, I'm afraid that I won't be able to take care of Gong Yu in the future. I can only rely on Big Brother to take good care of Gong Yu in the future. Big Brother shouldn't make things too difficult for Gong Yu. After all, Gong Yu is also my woman, and I'm already dead. Looking at this, Big Brother won't be too excessive. At this moment, everyone was thinking about the person in their hearts. Only before death could they understand who the most important person in their hearts was, and what they regretted not doing. All of them, meanwhile, absolute heaven, who had come down to monitor the situation, was currently quarreling with the pig-liver hyena. The two of them quarreled almost every day. They were like two women. The whole palace was their battlefield. They were like shrews. However, just as everyone was waiting for death to descend, a terrifying aura attacked. It was a crescent-shaped silver saber chi. With this slash, hundreds of tongues were all severed. Everyone could feel that the prehistoric ferocious beasts below were letting out howls of grief, and with fear in their hearts, they ran away. The tongue on his body gradually loosened. What happened? Yi Hong asked blankly. I'm already prepared to die, yet you are telling me that I actually won't be able to die. This kind of feeling is truly hard to accept. It seems like someone saved us. Tang Wei muttered, thinking in her heart, could it be Wei Chang? Is it really him? It can't be his honor, right? LV Liang asked curiously. Other than his honor, who else could it be? Yi Juetian felt that his big brother had come to save him. A black figure suddenly appeared in front of everyone. When the group of people saw this black figure, their eyes were filled with doubt. What was this? Who? If it was his honor or anyone else, is there a need for them to act like this? It was obviously not needed. In that case, it must be someone else. Senior, you are? Yi Juetian asked respectfully. To be able to get rid of those tongues in an instant, that person's strength was definitely above theirs, and furthermore, that person had even saved us. The black figure took off his mask and revealed an exquisite face. Although he wasn't very handsome, the feeling that he gave others was rather reliable and seemed to be trustworthy. Me? Who am I? I don't know either. The black figure said lightly, and a confused look could be seen on his face. Don't know who I am. Yi Juetian and the others were filled with question marks. Big Brother had said before that in this plane, other than prehistoric ferocious beasts or divine beasts, there were basically no other living beings. For a person to suddenly appear in this plane, how could they not be shocked? You don't know what your name is? Tang Wei asked puzzledly. The black figure said faintly, although I don't know what my name is, you all can call me Guardian. Guardian. Everyone's jaws were about to drop onto the ground. Because recently, Yi Zizi had also brought back a guardian, and the guardian was called Ren Yao. However, this was also a guardian, so how could everyone not exclaim in admiration? You are a guardian? Yi Juetian asked in shock. Yes. The male said faintly. Then, do you know Ren Yao? Sun Fang asked. Ren Yao? I don't know him, is he also a guardian? The male asked curiously. Li Hun nodded his head, yes, he is also a guardian, and his name is Ren Yao. That's great, can I meet him? The male seemed to have a goal, and his tone was filled with urgency. Everyone looked at one another. What's wrong? Is there anything inconvenient about it? I saved your lives just now as well. Seems like this guardian wasn't an idiot, and he knew that saving someone's life was very important. However, he only said it subconsciously. Yi Juetian said helplessly, we are currently training, and we can't go back right now, so, if you want to go back with us, you can wait until we finish our training. Training in this kind of place. Everyone felt what this guardian meant. He wanted to say that this place is too weak, and there is nothing to train in. To the guardian, this place was indeed weak, and this place was just like bullying little kids in a kindergarten. However, to Yi Juetian and the others, this place wasn't a kindergarten, this place was hell mode, and just now, they almost died. Yes. Yi Juetian said awkwardly. Forget it, I will wait for you all then, in case you all die again. Everyone, Yi Juetian said respectfully, that guardian, we are currently training, if it is possible, unless it is a crucial moment, do not take action to help us, it is not good for our training. I understand, just now, perhaps you all had your own methods, I did an unnecessary move. Everyone, what methods did I have just now? I don't have any methods at all. However, these words, everyone only thought about it in their hearts, how shameful would it be to say it out loud. However, everyone was also puzzled. Why do I feel that this guardian is so strong, that Rinyao doesn't seem to be this strong? Rinyao only stomped the guardian's strength into a fried egg, if he were to absorb that strength, he would also be this strong. Chapter 1262. Let's have a good rest here tonight. Yi Juetian said. These monsters had all been scared off by the protectors, so this place should be very safe. With a great god by his side, things were pretty stable indeed. Everyone nodded their heads. Right now, there was still a bit of lingering fear in their hearts. Looking at the black-clothed guardian beside them, everyone felt that this plane was slightly safer. However, in Voidless Empire, no one knew that these people had just met with a life-and-death situation. However, the area outside the Imperial Palace was also bustling with noise and excitement. The people from the 9 prefectures and 5 seas had all teleported over, causing the place to be overcrowded. The streets were filled with people. Right now, Yi Hua was currently listening to Kai Yun's report. After all, Kai Yun was in charge of the city's security. Are you saying that those nobles from the 9 provinces and 5 seas are bullying people? Yi Hua asked faintly, while Donghuang Baiji, who was beside Yi Hua, was currently peeling grapes for him. Kai Yun said respectfully, although it hasn't reached the level of bullying people now, among those people, they look down on the original residents. Adding on the disparity in strength, this is even more so. Subordinate feels that if this kind of thing were to continue for a long time, I'm afraid, I didn't pursue these people because I was giving Mengyao face, but they still want a foot after giving me an inch. Truly hateful. Yi Hua said coldly. What I hate the most is this kind of people who think that they are infallible. You've only been here for a day, and you're already using your identity to pressure me. Don't you know? Who was in charge here? Who are you? To put it bluntly, they were refugees. There are also some aristocrats of the 9 prefectures and 5 seas who don't obey the arrangements and use their wealth to buy high-end residences. Yi Hua went into a daze. There's really nothing that can be done about this. With money, one can indeed do whatever one wants. Donghuang Baiji rolled her eyes. Yi Hua, you have to pay attention to this matter. If this continues for a long period of time, it will definitely not be good. The natives will definitely have complaints. Donghuang Baiji reminded. Yi Hua thought for a moment, then said faintly, Kai Yun, bring some people to go and suppress them. Capture those who are disobedient and behead them. With that, they will naturally not dare to be impudent anymore. Donghuang Baiji really wanted to poke Yi Hua's forehead, but since Kai Yun is here, forget it. Yi Hua, using killing to suppress is the worst choice. Yi Hua said indifferently, I feel that it's pretty good. Last time, after I killed a few people who opposed me, all of them became well-behaved. Yi Hua, those are the ones who wanted to rebel against you, and their sins are naturally big. However, these are not. You just need to punish them slightly and it will be fine. Yi Hua laughed lightly, Baiji, you are still too young. Even if they don't exist now, it doesn't mean that they won't exist in the future. If we don't suppress them as soon as possible, they wouldn't know how to be grateful. Your honor is right. These people are extremely arrogant and sooner or later, they will want to stir up trouble. Your honor's actions are very appropriate, Kai Yun said respectfully. Yi Hua didn't care about Donghuang Baiji's opinion and said to Kai Yun, go and do it. Make the scene a bit bigger and let them know that I, the Supreme Overlord, am not someone to be trifled with. Since they are in my territory, they have to listen to me. If they don't listen to me, they can just scram. Yes. Your Honor. After receiving the order, Kai Yun immediately went to look for Yi Zizi. Things are going to be fun soon. When Kai Yun received Luo Ho's application, he took a look. The ones who were arrogant were the aristocrats, at least 10% of them. The others were still relatively obedient. Of course, it wasn't all the nobles, but Kai Yun felt that there were at least 1,000 or more who were very mischievous. Capture them and behead them. After Kai Yun left, Donghuang Baiji sighed and said, Yi Hua, actually, there are other ways to solve this problem. Yi Hua said faintly, this is the most direct way. Kai Yun can save a lot of trouble. You women, your hair is long, but your knowledge is short. Humph. Don't go to bed tonight then. That isn't up to you to decide. Yi Hua snorted coldly, angering Donghuang Baiji to the point that she directly went to sleep. Meanwhile, Yi Hua didn't go to sleep. Right now, he was thinking about the general meeting that he would be having tomorrow morning. This was also the first general meeting that he would be having. Therefore, I have to properly think about the future plans. No, there are still some people who are still training, and it still can't be considered as a general meeting. Forget it then, I will just casually say a few words tomorrow morning and go to sleep. At this moment, inside a luxurious tavern, a few people were sitting at a table and chatting about something. At the side of the table, there were some people who were very powerful. Among the people who were sitting at the table, there was also Meng Li. Other than Meng Li, who was a woman, the others were all men. Looking at their arrogant expressions, one could tell that they were the kind of people who had power and influence in the 9 provinces and 5 seas. Back then, when Meng Yao contacted others, she asked them to come to Voidless Empire. Therefore, other than the people on Meng Yao's side, there were other places as well. The place that exalted goddess Meng Yao recommended is indeed not bad. Look at the environment here. It's several times better than the previous one. The one who spoke was surnamed Lu. The Lu family's influence in Ding province was extraordinary, but Lu Xiao realized that this place was better than any city in Ding province. I have a suggestion. How about we develop this place into our own capital? The one who spoke was called Long Yi. His looks were not good, but he was very greedy. He was also a member of the Long family, but Long Chu had died. Right now, only he had the greatest authority, and naturally, he would be able to become the patriarch of the Long family. However, previously, Long Yi was only a small elder, but the others were all dead. There was only Long Yi in the group of elders, so it was only natural. Long family head, this is a good idea. We can call ourselves kings here. Lu Xia was the first to agree with the proposal. After saying that, Lu Xia and Long Yi looked at Meng Li. After all, Meng Li's strength was needed. Meng Li, what do you think of our suggestion? Asked Under Lu in a low voice. Meng Li came back to her senses. What did you two say just now? Meng Li, what I mean is, let us join hands and take down this city. Long Yi said indifferently, as if taking down Wushu Empire was an easy thing to do. What? You two want to take down this place? Meng Li's expression immediately changed. What kind of place is this? It's that emperor's territory, and that emperor even won against the palace master. But these fellows, they don't even know, that's right. Long Yi said resolutely. A trace of bloodthirst could be seen in his eyes. This is the first time I'm going to attack since I became the family head, so it's definitely going to be extraordinary. Meng Li said coldly, are you two crazy? Do you know where this place is? Do you know how the 9 provinces and 5 seas disappeared? Do you know who defeated the palace master? Lu Xia said indifferently, Mengli, we know what you want to say, but those are all rumors. Who knows who defeated who? Could it be that you saw it with your own eyes? Looks like you two are crazy. To actually have ideas on Wushu Empire, let me tell you. It was the emperor of this place who defeated the palace master. Mengli shouted out gravely. Right now, they finally have a place to stay, and they actually want to monopolize it. They are simply bastards. Chapter 1263. Mengli shouldn't have let them come here, it was simply a waste. Mengli, don't make it sound so serious. Long Yi, don't believe in rumors, I only believe in my eyes. The people here are all very weak, I can settle them all in a few minutes. Mengli, just tell me, do you want to join? Long Yi asked softly, there was a bit of threat in his tone. Even Lu Xia revealed a threatening gaze. Mengli snorted, it's impossible for me to join. However, just as Mengli was about to reject, the people standing behind Lu Xia and Long Yi stopped Mengli. It seemed like she had no choice but to agree. Mengli, we are after all outsiders, we don't know how long we can live here, what if we get bullied? That's why we should unite now, this is the wisest decision. Lu Qin said softly, this kind of consideration was still reasonable. However, Mengli wouldn't do that, that was the emperor. The emperor who won against the palace master. Do you think that I am some newbie? Those who walk different paths cannot make plans together, goodbye. Mengli turned around, and a man behind her stopped her with a cold gaze. Long Yi stood up and asked coldly, Mengli, do you want to go and inform on the emperor? So what if I am? Mengli shouted coldly, she wasn't afraid at all. If that's the case, then please stay. Long Yi's words carried a deep disdain, and of course, a threatening intent. However, right at this moment, the door was suddenly pushed open. Two big sisters appeared. However, behind them, there were some people lying on the ground. These people were Lu Xia and Long Yi's subordinates. Who are you? Lu Qin shouted. Mengli had naturally seen all of them before. These two people were the emperor's subordinates, their strength was unknown. However, what was certain was that they should be very, very strong. I heard that you guys are gathering people to rebel. Kai Yun said with a slight smile. Yi Zizi sucked on her lollipop and looked at them with a playful expression. Long Yi laughed lightly, how could there be such a thing, you must have gotten it wrong. Kai Yun, how could I get it wrong? Mengli, don't you think so? Kai Yun looked towards Meng Yao. Although Meng Yao and Mengli are related, and Meng Yao even saved Mengli, if they violated the principle, it would be useless. Even if the Heavenly King were to plead for leniency, it would be useless. Shielding people who are rebelling is not far away from the death penalty. However, Mengli didn't know that what she said would affect how far she could go in life. To the two of them, they were from the same hometown. However, these two fellows were a little bad. No matter what, they were still fellow villagers. Yes. Mengli said seriously. Although they were from the same hometown, these two people from the same hometown had already wanted to kill her. Therefore, she didn't want these people from the same hometown. Long Yi and Lu Xia immediately looked at Mengli with killing intent. Yi Zizi said lightly, since you have this idea, then you must know the consequences of having this idea. Lower Lu, you kill that one. I'll kill this one with a ponytail. Long Yi shouted coldly. All right. Killing you is as easy as killing chickens. The sixth move of the Lu family's swordplay, natural great path. Dragon raising its head. Long Yi roared. The two's might instantly enveloped the entire voidless empire, and everyone could feel their auras. To actually dare to cause trouble in voidless empire, they must have grown the guts of a male leopard. Yi Zizi and Kai Yun looked on, while Meng Li was very nervous. You two, go and make a move, don't just stand there and not move. Yi Zizi sucked on her lollipop and said, you called me out for such a boring thing, I might as well go and sleep. Boring? Don't you find it fun? I just feel that it is fun. Fun my ass, I'm going back. Yi Zizi held back her words, then disappeared from where she was. Meng Li didn't even know what to say anymore. Kai Yun looked at the two people in front of him while panting with rage. You two are simply too trashy. I originally wanted to make my bestie happy, but in the end, you two are useless. An even more terrifying might was released out from Kai Yun's body. Both Lu Xia and Long Yi felt as if there was a small mountain pressing down on their backs. They were originally still charging in the sky, but now, they were immediately pressed down, and their eyeballs were about to pop out. You! Just who are you? Lu Xia found it hard to believe. This girl actually defeated me with her aura. How is this possible? Even if it was her aura, that was only aimed at me alone. Yet, she was actually able to disperse her aura, and even Long Yi was suppressed. This little girl, isn't she too terrifying? Long Yi was also incomparably shocked in his heart. Is she still a human? This little girl is most likely even more powerful than the family head. Kai Yun said faintly, you all still don't have the qualifications to know, but you all are going to die soon. Men! Bring her away. Yes. Flag Master. Luo Ho brought the yellow armored warrior and walked in, then brought everyone out. Only after Long Yi and Lu Xia walked out did they discover that all of their people were captured, and the entire street was filled with people kneeling down. Family head, save us. Family head, they said that they want to kill us. Family head, quickly come and save us. Everyone started asking Lu Xia and Long Yi for help, but what was the use? The two of them were already captured. There were still a lot of people who were watching the show in the surroundings, and of course, there were also people from the 9 provinces and 5 seas that were carrying puzzlement. It's only the first day that I came here, why did such a thing happen? Isn't that Lu Xia and Long Yi? Why did they get captured? Thinking back to what the two of them did before, everyone seemed to be able to understand. This kind of person's way of thinking is too crazy, the emperor here definitely wouldn't allow it. But then again, is the emperor here really that powerful? Exterminating the palace master. Meng Li followed behind Kai Yun. Luckily, I didn't act recklessly just now, if not, the one who would be kneeling down, would be me. Just how strong is this little girl in front of me, even Meng Li doesn't know right now. There were more and more people who were watching the show in the surroundings, and all of them were whispering to each other and pointing at each other. Kai Yun coughed lightly, and the scene immediately became quiet. These people. They are trying to rebel. The great emperor gave them food and lodging, yet they actually don't have a heart of gratitude, and even have wild ambitions. This kind of crime is unforgivable. Kai Yun shouted out coldly. Right now, Kai Yun felt that he was very imposing. This is what a flag master should have. Execution ground. Suddenly, someone shouted out from within the crowd. Following this shout, everyone began shouting out. Execution ground. Execution ground. Execution ground. Seems like these natives really don't like them, they are going too far. Lu Xia and Long Yi took a look at each other. What kind of place is this execution ground? Execution ground is the place where Yi Hua killed people last time, and normally, only those who have committed serious crimes would go there. In actuality, Kai Yun was thinking the same way too. Since his honor said that we want to have a big scene, we can only do it at the execution ground. Kai Yun waved his hand, and the scene once again became quiet. Chapter 1264. This kind of sin is unforgivable, therefore, I grant you all death. Bring all of you to the execution ground. Kai Yun shouted coldly. Following Kai Yun's words, everyone started shouting. These people bullied us too much during the day, and now, they still want to rebel. They are too daring. You can't kill us. We are the people of the 9 provinces and 5 seas. You humans from a lower plane of existence are so vicious. You are simply the behavior of barbarians. Family head, save me. I don't want to die. Everyone's power was sealed, and they were no different from ordinary people. They were completely unable to struggle free from the yellow armored warrior's restraints. Luo Ho, come over for a moment, I need you to go and arrange the guillotine. Kai Yun waved his hand and called Luo Ho over, then whispered into his ears. All right, subordinate will go and do it right away. Luo Ho went to do the task with an excited look on his face. Those who didn't know might even think that he went to find his wife. Kai Yun took a deep breath. I should have achieved his honor's expectations. What do you plan to do? Meng Li asked weakly. Behead them one by one. Kai Yun said coldly. To actually have the thought of monopolizing Wushu Empire. They are simply too evil, his honor took them in out of kindness, yet they are all ingrates, I really feel sorry for his honor. After Kai Yun finished speaking, he left, leaving behind Meng Li who had a stiff face. This Wushu Empire doesn't seem to be an ordinary empire. In the 9 provinces and 5 seas, there were no wars, and at most, there would only be small fights. The number of deaths was also not very high, at most, there would only be a few hundred casualties. Thousands or even tens of thousands of casualties were very rare, and battles like this were even described as big wars by them. Meng Li was stunned for a long time, then hurriedly chased after Kai Yun. After walking through a few streets, Meng Li saw a huge building. Everyone was walking inside with anger on their faces, and they were cursing at those people who don't know what's good for them. Meng Li even saw that a lot of people were looking at her weirdly, as if they were looking at an outsider, with a kind of vigilance and alienation. In the end, Meng Li still walked inside. After entering, Meng Li discovered that this was a place that could seat tens of thousands of people, and there was an empty space in the middle. On the high platform, there was a seat of honor, presumably, that seat of honor belonged to the emperor. However, the one who was currently standing on top of it was Kai Yun, so of course, he was only standing. Today's execution was a little special. A flight of stairs had just been added, and there was a platform at the top of the stairs. At this moment, there was a fat man with a red condom on his head and a silver machete in his hand. The criminals entered the prison one after another, and they lined up neatly behind the stairs. These people had just escaped from a calamity, but I didn't expect that. There wasn't that kind of situation where one is bound to have good fortune after surviving a great calamity. This was the rhythm where one would definitely die after surviving a great calamity. The viewing platform was already filled with people. There were people from the 9 provinces and 5 seas, and there were also people from the local area. The air was pervaded with the smell of blood. This place. Back then, over 10,000 people had been killed. That kind of smell of blood would not dissipate even after a few years. Even the sound of thunder resounded in the sky, adding a terrifying color to the oppressive atmosphere. Some of the criminals had already peed in their pants, and their legs were trembling non-stop. Why did I have to bully others? I am so regretful. If he didn't bully them and got along with them peacefully, how could such a situation happen? That was impossible. At this time, Kai Yun shouted, whether it's an original resident or a new resident, it doesn't matter. He had come to Wushu Empire. You only have one identity. And that is the citizen of Wushu Empire. There is no 9 provinces and 5 seas, or anything else. All those who want to overthrow His Majesty's rule will be beheaded. His Majesty does not wish to see such a thing happening again. Carry out the execution. Kai Yun shouted out coldly, and a cold intent immediately pervaded the surroundings. Meng Li saw that Lu Xia, who was in high spirits just a moment ago, was being escorted onto the stairs, and right now, Lu Xia no longer had a trace of arrogance. His entire person seemed to have aged by tens of years, and his messy hair made people feel that he was very miserable. However, he only had himself to blame. No. Lu Xia was regretting right now. If I had known earlier that the people here were so strong, how would I have dared to stir up trouble? It is precisely because I didn't know that I wanted to stir up trouble. Lu Xia was pressed onto the edge of the stairs and knelt down onto the ground, and he lowered his head and looked towards the pit below. Originally, Meng Li was still puzzled about the meaning of digging a pit below the stairs, but right now, she understood that the pit was used to store the head. If it was so savage, kill. The people in the surroundings started shouting, pushing the atmosphere to its climax. Lu Xiao's begging for mercy had already been drowned out by the sounds. The executioner drank a mouthful of wine, then sprayed it onto the blade and aimed it at Lu Xiao's neck. Swish! Lu Xiao's head accurately fell into the pit, and the headless corpse spurted out a large amount of blood. It was a ghastly sight. The people who were shouting to kill just a moment ago immediately quietened down. Afterward, cheers erupted out. Kai Yun was very satisfied with this situation. Look at these spectators, they are about to become savage people just like me, haha. Meng Yao felt very uncomfortable when she saw this kind of scene. In the 9 provinces and 5 seas, this kind of primitive method of solving problems had long been abolished. Not only Meng Li, the other people in the 9 provinces and 5 seas also felt the same way. This is too cruel, right? Looking at the spectators in the surroundings, they were all shouting and cheering. This is something that I am unable to understand. This kind of savage method, there are actually people who are clapping and cheering. This is simply subverting my worldview. Meng Li really couldn't understand. This kind of cruel thing can actually be carried out in such a manner. Even if this is to be carried out, it has to be done secretly. How can it be carried out so openly? This is truly something that I am unable to understand. The heads fell one after another, and the bones of the corpses were pushed to the side one after another, waiting to be carried away. No matter how awesome one was in the past, after coming to Wushu Empire, even if one was a dragon, one would still have to coil up. This is not a joke, this is a lesson learned in blood. Kai Yun looked at the beheading just like that. He felt that this program is not bad, and I have to hold it more often in the future. This also caused the people in the city to become obedient, not daring to infuriate this Lord Kai Yun. However, these were all things that happened in the future. At this very moment, the blood on the ground was already showing signs of forming a small pond, and it was a ghastly sight to behold. The headless corpses at the side were like trash that were thrown around messily. Right now, Meng Li really couldn't understand what kind of flaw does this place have, and why would Meng Yao say that this place is good. This place is so savage, and yet, Meng Yao actually said that this place is so good. I completely can't see what's good about this place. What's so good about this place? The smell of blood at the scene was very dense, and it was as if the sky was going to be dyed red, causing people to tremble even though it wasn't cold. When the emperor makes a move, people will definitely die. Chapter 1265. However, compared to the previous time, this time was just child's play. Although there was a change in the technique, the overall atmosphere was still slightly lacking. Therefore, Yihua had to work harder. As time passed, all of the traitors were beheaded, and the ground was practically filled with blood. This truly made people sigh. Kai Yun floated in the sky and said gravely, "This is just a warning, I hope that you all can keep it in mind." don't forget who gave you all of this. Since you can give it, you can also take it all back. Therefore, I hope that you all understand that living a good life is better than anything else." Right after Kai Yun finished speaking, he disappeared from where he stood, leaving behind a bloody scene. Of course, there were also tens of thousands of people who were astonished. This emperor is truly powerful. It seems like anyone who stands in front of him, he can just kill them with a single move. This kind of aura is truly unstoppable. The crowd gradually left. No one paid attention to the people who died in the pit. In their hearts, those people only had themselves to blame. The emperor had given them enough face, and if they didn't give the emperor face, only an abyss of fear would be waiting for them. The people of the 9 provinces and 5 seas were naturally unable to understand such a method. It was bloody and inhumane. This place was simply like a hell. It had a bright and beautiful appearance, but deep evil was hidden in its heart. Although today's scene wasn't enough to shock the hearts of the people, it wasn't too far off. At the very least, it managed to shock all of the newcomers. After all, those 2 people were brazen. There were also some who were waiting to see what would happen next. However, looking at the current situation, there shouldn't be any hope. Of course, if those people were courting death, they could go and give it a try. Yihua wasn't clear about what happened tonight, but even if he knew, he wouldn't oppose it. After all, sometimes, this kind of suppression was needed to be effective. Other methods would only show that you were weak and powerless. The next morning, Yihua woke up very early. Donghuang Baiji, who was beside him, did not have any reaction. Yihua put on his clothes and walked out of the bedroom by himself without waking up Donghuang Baiji. Yihua did not go and look for his subordinates. Instead, he went to look for Gong Yu, his pregnant sister-in-law. Since this little brother of his is not at home, I should go and take a look at the situation. Meng Yao is gone, and if even Gong Yu is gone, then when this little brother of his returns, it can be imagined. Arriving at Gong Yu's sleeping quarters, Yihua discovered that Gong Yu had woken up very early in the morning and was currently trimming the flowers. Behind her, there were 2 palace maids who were serving upon her. It was hard to tell whether Gong Yu was happy or sad. She seemed a little calm, but this was normal for a pregnant woman who was waiting. "Your Majesty." Gong Yu immediately noticed Yihua's arrival and walked forward and greeted respectfully. Yihua said faintly, "Get up." "Thank you, Your Majesty." Yihua took a look at Gong Yu's stomach, then asked indifferently, "How is the child recently?" Seems like in Yihua's heart, the child is still more important. After all, the child is the bloodline of Yi family, there shouldn't be anything more important than the child. "Your Majesty, the child's condition has been very good during this period of time, there is no need to worry," Gong Yu said softly. It was obvious that she was referring to herself as well. She was the kind of mother who relied on the fact that she had a son. If she didn't have this child, she would probably still be waiting in the dungeon. "It's good that you are fine, lest absolute heaven gets worried," Yihua said in a low voice. On the other hand, Gong Yu was thinking, if I can make absolute heaven worry, I am willing to do anything. Yihua originally wanted to tell Gong Yu about Meng Yao's death, but in the end, he didn't say it. If his younger brother were to return, at least he would know that Meng Yao was still alive and not dead. "Your Majesty, you can be at ease, I will take good care of myself and wait for absolute heaven to return." Gong Yu lightly rubbed her stomach. Right now, her stomach was still not big, but the little life inside her stomach was her child, and of course, it was also her child with Yi Juetian. Her life suddenly became even more perfect. Yihua looked at the slightly raised corner of Gong Yu's mouth, and suddenly felt that, right now, this woman is already satisfied. This kind of satisfaction doesn't come from power, it is just a simple feeling of satisfaction. "I will be leaving first. Farewell, Your Majesty." Looking at Yihua leaving her bedroom, Gong Yu let out a light breath. I was really afraid that this temperamental big brother emperor would punish me. If Yi Hua were to know of this, he would definitely be speechless. When did I become a temperamental person? I am clearly a person who calms down. Towards the meeting that was held in the morning, Yi Hua placed quite a bit of importance on it. Although the number of people in the meeting was not very full, the things that should be said still had to be said. Right now, everything seems to have been settled, and it is time for me to make a detailed plan for the future. Just what am I going to do? It is making me very confused right now. In the main hall, Yi Hua wasn't wearing the emperor's robe, and he was dressed in a rather ordinary attire as he sat on the throne. Have all the rebellions that happened yesterday been dealt with? Yi Hua looked at his subordinates and asked faintly. Today's Yi Hua was rather noteworthy. Even now, there was still a trace of redness on her face. Looking at Lai Gu, he looks as if he had just lost a battle, and his entire body looked as if he was about to collapse. Meanwhile, Qing Su's expression was filled with a look of success. Seems like I tricked Lai Gu again. Wei Chang and Dou Fushi appeared to be a bit downcast, but after knowing that their wives are fine, they became slightly more at ease. As for the others, they are still the same. At this moment, Kai Yun said respectfully, reporting to your honor, the rebellions have been eradicated. A total of 2,031 heads were chopped off. Not bad, Kai Yun is already on the right track. Yi Hua praised Kai Yun. There is no need for me to remind Kai Yun about some things. One must understand the thoughts of the leader and then carry out the tasks accordingly. This is what a good subordinate should be like. Kai Yun was delighted. This is the first time that I have received his honor's performance. This is truly exciting, yet also unbelievable. To think that there would actually be such a good thing. I only did an insignificant thing, and yet, I was able to receive such a pleasant surprise. After Yi Hua praised Kai Yun, everyone felt a burst of envy. Meanwhile, Wei Chang was thinking in his heart, when is his honor going to praise me? After all, I am using my life to display the quintessence of the matter. However, Wei Chang was going to be disappointed, because his honor didn't talk about this matter at all. After this matter, the focus of our entire team's work seems to have changed a bit. Therefore, I want to come up with a new plan for our future development and so on. Right now, Yi Hua was indeed a bit lost. Although I have only been here for a day, living without a direction, what difference is there between me and a salted fish? Tell me, do you all have any good suggestions? Yi Hua asked faintly. Wei Chang expressed that he was very sad. What about the praise? I, Wei Chang, have already sacrificed so much. At this moment, Wei Chang took a step forward and said respectfully, Your Honor, ever since the matter between Qing Su and me. Chapter 1266. When Wei Chang said the word I, it seemed like he was reminding his honor. Did he forget to say something? For example, praising Wei Chang's brain. Isn't this a very important thing? Yi Hua looked towards Wei Chang, and the latter's gaze flickered. That's right, there is still another fortune teller at the back. Things are still not over yet. Yi Hua suddenly recalled that there is still another fortune teller that I have yet to deal with. Wei Chang, you have been hiding there for so long, did you manage to obtain any news? Yi Hua asked faintly. Wei Chang was very depressed. It felt like his quests weren't over yet, so he had to continue completing quests. When all the quests were completed, he would be praised. Such a result was still acceptable. Your Honor, I don't know the whereabouts of that fortune teller. I'm afraid that even the palace master and the others don't know. Wei Chang said respectfully. That fortune teller was indeed very powerful, so he had to strengthen his defenses and not let his guard down. Yi Hua said faintly, this fortune teller naturally has to be included in the list of plans. Furthermore, this fortune teller is of the utmost importance, so we must definitely pay attention to him. Understood. All the subordinates shouted in unison. Just as Yi Hua was about to continue expressing his opinion, his younger sister Yi Yuanqing's voice suddenly rang out in his mind. "Brother, I'm in trouble," Yi Yuanqing said unwillingly. He really didn't want to ask his big brother for help, but he had no choice but to do so, because the spirit capital was going to change. All of these people were very strong, and we were completely unable to resist them. These people even claimed to be from the Eastern Emperor clan, the imperial family. However, now that the imperial family had changed their surname, the Eastern royal clan was furious, and the current emperor was actually a woman. "Don't you think I'm angry?" "What happened?" Yi Hua asked gravely. "I don't really understand why my little sister is in trouble. This doesn't seem to be right. Those people called Donghuang have occupied the imperial palace, and there are a lot of powerful people among them. Yi Yuanqing didn't have any other way to deal with Donghuang. Yi Hua slightly wrinkled his brows. Why is it the Eastern Emperor clan again? The 9 prefectures and 5 seas had all collapsed. The battle that day seemed to have ignored the Donghuang clan, and it was because they had all died. Did he not die at all? All of them ran to Lingdu. This seemed to be possible. That Donghuang Ji had such an ability, or the entire Donghuang clan should have such an ability. "Yuanqing, where is the person that I gave you?" Yi Hua asked gravely. "Big brother, they have a lot of experts. The people you gave me have disappeared," Yi Yuanqing said in a low voice. He had thought that with the strength of the 3 of them, his sister would be able to do whatever she wanted. However, he was wrong. Those 3 people were indeed very powerful, but compared to Donghuang Jishang, they were still lacking. Furthermore, the strength of the Eastern Emperor Extreme Shang wasn't just for show. Running into Yi Hua could only be considered as his misfortune. However, if he ran into someone else, it would be a different story altogether. After hearing his little sister's words, Yi Hua's expression turned ugly. This Donghuang clan, the Supreme Overlord, have already spared you all once, and yet, you all actually dare to push your luck yet again. Looks like I'll have to make a trip to Lingdu. My younger sister won't be able to handle this. However, at this moment, Yi Yuanqing, who had been living in the palace, had moved out. It must be said, just how fast was the Donghuang clan's speed. They had just arrived at Lingdu, and they had already chased the newly appointed empress down from her position. However, Yi Yuanqing was actually spared by the Donghuang Ji once. This could only mean one thing: as long as one's surname was Yi, a miracle would always appear. "Big sister, what did big brother say?" Yi Chen hurriedly asked. During the family's most crucial moment, only big brother was the most reliable. Right now, father had already fainted from fright in the toilet, and his entire body was trembling. After all, he had offended the powerful Donghuang clan. Yi Yuanqing said in a low voice, "Big brother said that he will immediately come over and handle this matter." "That's good. As long as big brother is willing to come over and handle this matter, I can be sure that everything will be settled." At this moment, Yi Zhou was also at ease. "Originally, I thought that I would be able to handle this small matter by myself, but I discovered that doesn't exist." Father had already fainted from fright. Right now, Yi Yuanqing was still wearing the Empress's royal robe. "This is real. Why didn't the Donghuang Ji kill Yi Yuanqing and these people with the surname Yi?" "It's all because these people all have the surname Yi. Perhaps it was because their home was destroyed, and it was destroyed by someone with the surname Yi, and they were unable to resist. Right now, as long as they heard someone with the surname Yi, they would subconsciously have the urge to turn around and run away. There was really no other way. For some people, as long as you have seen them, the evil in their bones would be deeply engraved in your heart, and you wouldn't dare to go against them in the slightest. This was especially so for powerful people. For example, the Dongwang-ji had already been frightened to the point that his liver and gallbladder were trembling. Logically speaking, the matter of seizing the throne definitely had to kill these people. However, in the end, they still let them go. Inside the palace, the Dongwang-ji was currently sitting on the throne, looking down at the officials and the higher-ups of the Dongwang clan. Among the officials, Shan Junren was naturally there as well. After all, he was the prime minister. However, this prime minister, as well as the officials, were all standing behind the Dongwang clan. Everyone was trembling with fear. From yesterday until today, too many things that no one could understand had already happened. However, these things that no one could understand actually made people feel that it was reasonable, or perhaps, normal. The Dongwang-ji was sitting on the throne with a gloomy expression, because he didn't sleep well at all last night. The reason why he didn't sleep well was because he was frightened. He was afraid that those people with the surname Yi were related to that man. If they were really related to that man, then this matter would be very troublesome. It was simply the rhythm of death. Even if those people with the surname Yi seized the throne, didn't I still not kill a single person? I'm just afraid that I killed the wrong person. I don't even dare to ask about his background. If this person's background is extraordinary, what should I do? Wouldn't that mean that I'm going to die? I've died once in the past, and I've died quite thoroughly. This time, I really don't want to die again. My previous home is already gone, and this old home is my last piece of land. If even this piece of land is gone, then what is there to stay for? However, there are some things that should still be asked. This concerns the future and future life. Previously, how did those people with the surname Yi sit on the throne? Why didn't you people stop them? The Dongwang-ji asked in a deep voice. However, his heart was beating like a drum. If I hear an answer that I don't want to hear, then what should I do? Chapter 1267. Among the officials, no one dared to answer this question. This was obviously a suicide question, the kind that whoever answered would die. It was commonly known as a scapegoat. What? No one wants to say anything. Dongwang-ji shouted coldly. The atmosphere immediately became tense. However, no matter how nervous they were, no one said anything, as if offending anyone would make them feel uncomfortable. Who has the highest official position? Dongwang-ji shouted angrily, as if he wanted to release all of the fear in his heart. Thus, everyone looked towards Shan Junren. The latter's expression was calm, but in his heart, he was cursing. The higher the official position, the scapegoat. Youth, tell me, why did such a situation happen? You all are protecting the face of the royal family, yet you let an outsider sit on this chair. What face do you all have left? Shan Junren said respectfully, Old ancestor, this is a long story. Then make it short. Dongwang-ji said faintly. That is because of Prince Yi. Prince Yi. What's his full name? Dongwang-ji asked confusedly. Who is this Prince Yi? Why doesn't it feel so good? Shan Junren naturally didn't dare to lie right now. Lying right now was no different from courting death. Yi Hua. Shan Junren said in a low voice. He felt that calling Prince Yi by his full name was a bit disrespectful to Prince Yi. However, those two words exploded in Dongwang-ji's mind. Yi Hua. Isn't it that man? Everyone saw the old ancestor's expression instantly change. The speed at which his expression changed was even faster than that of a woman. Furthermore, within that ferocious expression, there was a trace of fear. Why would there be a trace of fear? Everyone was a bit confused. You are right. That tall and handsome Yi Hua. Why does he keep a straight face all day? It's as if everyone owes him money. He's so arrogant. The officials didn't expect that the old ancestor would actually evaluate Prince Yi like this. He simply evaluated the essence of Prince Yi. That's right, Prince Yi is this kind of person, my friend, there's nothing wrong with it. Old ancestor, the person you described should be Prince Yi. Shan Junren said respectfully. He still didn't understand why. Dong Huangji was stupefied. Dong Huangfei, who was in the crowd, was also stupefied. Even Dong Huangqing Ro was stupefied. Can there be such a coincidence? How could he meet this person here? Dong Huangji was feeling extremely aggrieved in his heart. If it was possible, he didn't want to ask earlier on. But now that he had asked, he didn't want to know. How can the heavens torture people like this? Dong Huangji's Shang could be seen suddenly standing up. Tell me, where did that empress from yesterday live? Yi Yuanqing is still at home, Yi family. Dong Huangji instantly disappeared from where he was. That urgent look of his made it seem as if his wife was giving birth at home. He didn't want to be careless. Of course, they couldn't be careless. That was a man who was ferocious to the point of exploding. If he was also a member of the Yi family, he had offended the other party again. He could even topple a hall master, and yet he was still talking about himself. When he arrived on the streets of Spirit Capital, Dong Huangji started to ask the passers-by where the Yi family was. Then, he hurriedly flew over. This matter cannot be sloppy at all. I have to bring that woman, no. I have to bring that empress up to the throne. Let's just pretend that nothing happened yesterday, what do you think? Dong Huangji came to the entrance of the Yi clan and directly knocked on the door. However, in other places, Dong Huangji wouldn't do this at all. Whenever he knocked on the door, he would just directly push the door open. However, in this kind of situation, would he dare to knock on the door? He obviously wouldn't dare to knock on the door. After all, everyone here is my ancestor. You all are my ancestor. Very quickly, a servant opened the door. Who is it? The servant, who didn't understand the situation, was very arrogant. After all, the current Yi family was different from the past. If it was in the past, if such an arrogant servant appeared, Dong Huangji wouldn't pay attention to him. However, there would naturally be someone who would kill him. However, the current situation was different from the past. This little brother, can I trouble you to inform the servant that Dong Huangji is here to look for me? Dong Huangji slightly bowed his body and had a fawning look on his face. However, the servant stretched out his hand and waved it, as if you should understand. Dong Huangji didn't have much experience in the world, and he didn't understand what the servant was doing. Shaking hands was the best face that the servant could give the servant. Are you sick? You don't even understand this. Dong Huangji suppressed the anger in his heart. This lowly person actually dares to insult me and say that I'm sick. If it's possible, I really want to kill this person. Right now, Dong Huangji understood. Bringing money was not something that the boss would do, the boss only had treasures on him. Therefore, Dong Huangji gave the servant a pearl. The servant took a look at the pearl, then shook it and said faintly, "Not bad, go in." "Thank you, little brother." Dong Huangji thought in his heart. This little brat is truly hard to deal with. The servant sneered. With a single look, I can tell that this is a man who hasn't seen the world before. To actually come to the back door and knock on the door, and even foolishly give me treasures, isn't this person sick? Yi family was actually quite big. Just like Dong Huangji, in order to find the empress, he didn't speak loudly, and he also didn't ask randomly. Why is it that as long as you ask, all sorts of things and treasures will be given to you, and you will tell them the truth, but in the end, they will still be fake? I have never seen such a scammer. Everyone here is a scammer. Everyone is targeting me, they are simply very bad. Dong Guangji, who was lost, could only find a place to sit down and calm himself down. Don't flatten this place just because I lost my temper. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps rang out. Dong Guangji directly said, "Don't come and ask me for things, I don't have any treasures anymore." Ancestor! Yi Chen cried out in shock. He had seen this person in the royal court yesterday, so he recognized him with a single look. This person even chased me and Big Sister out yesterday, why is he here again today? Just what is the meaning of this? You are. Why would Dong Guangji care about other people's names? Towards this young man in front of him, he did not have any impression at all. I am Yi Chen, Yi Yuanqing is my big sister. What? You are Yi Chen. Bring me to see your big sister, quickly. There is an urgent matter. In Yi Chen's eyes, this ancestor was a very decent person, so why is he so impatient and not calm at all? Furthermore, why is he so anxious to find Big Sister? What is going on? However, thinking about the current situation, I can only bring him to see her, there might still be a chance for things to turn around. Yi Chen did not say anything and directly brought Dong Guangji to find Big Sister. Right now, Yi Yuanqing was waiting for his big brother's arrival so that he can take back the throne, so he was clearly a bit impatient. However, at the door, two figures suddenly appeared. This caused Yi Yuanqing to be startled, because one of them was Dong Guangji, this man who chased him off the throne yesterday. Chapter 1268. Big Sister, he. Before Yi Chen could finish, Dong Guangji rushed forward and bowed. If he were to kneel and slide, the effect would be even better. Yi Yuanqing was dumbfounded. What is going on? This old ancestor of the Donghuang clan is actually bowing to me, what is the meaning of this? I don't understand what is going on. Please follow me, Empress. Dong Guangji bowed with a pious heart. However, when he lowered his head, his gaze was filled with boundless fear. Who would have known that the woman he chased down was actually that man's little sister? This man is so unlucky, even water will get stuck between his teeth. What are you doing? Yi Yuanqing questioned coldly. This man actually wants me to follow him. How is that possible? Who knows where he is going? Maybe he is looking for a chance to kill me. This is simply unbearable. When Big Brother comes, I will teach him a lesson. Misunderstanding, this is all a misunderstanding, I was immature yesterday. Donghuang Corporation hurriedly said. If I don't lower my head now, when will I do it? Could it be that I have to wait until I die before lowering my head? Yi Yuanqing finally understood, this man actually took the initiative to admit his mistake. Could it be that Big Brother has already come over to greet me? It is very possible, Big Brother is still the best. I just said how long has it been, Big Brother has already settled everything properly. Big Brother is amazing. Is it really a misunderstanding? Yi Yuanqing felt that with Big Brother supporting him, he immediately became confident. Dong Guangji Shang said in a low voice, yes, it's all a misunderstanding. Regarding yesterday's matter, I will do my best to compensate you. Empress, please move to the Imperial Palace. That is where you should be living and not here. Oh. Who was the one who said that I don't have the right to stay there yesterday? Yi Yuanqing teased. Her mood became much better. Dong Guangji knew that this woman was making things difficult for him, but what could he do? This was the only way. It is all my fault, I hope that Empress will not hold it against me. Dong Guangji was filled with grievances. When have I ever been so lowly? Never, never, but today. I am so lowly that it even reaches my crotch. Yi Yuanqing did not have the interest to continue messing around. That's enough, Big Brother has already arranged everything properly. Alright, I understand, you can go back first. No. Your Majesty must enter the palace now, only then can I be at ease. Dongwang Ji-shang's heart was thumping like a drum. If this matter were to be known by that demon, it would definitely be hard to clean up the mess. Yi Yuanqing said softly, I still need to make some preparations. I will return to the palace tomorrow. Go back and clean up and put my things back in place. Hearing this, Dongwang Ji-shang felt as if he had dealt with something unpleasant. It seemed like he had to change it based on his memory. But this required time as well. Alright, I understand. Dongwang Ji-shang said hurriedly. He turned around and was about to leave, but he suddenly realized that he didn't seem to have asked to leave. If he did, it would seem that he was lacking in manners. He turned back and said, Your Majesty, I just want to go back and make preparations. Go. All right. Dongwang Ji finally dared to go back and prepare. Seeing Dongwang Ji leave, Yichen asked out of curiosity, Is it because of Big Brother? Yi Yuanqing nodded, only Big Brother has such ability. Yichen agreed and said happily, with Big Brother around, we will be able to bring glory to Yi family. That's right. With just the few of us, it is far from enough. Yi Yuanqing let out a long sigh. This is the most important problem. Big sister, I will go and make arrangements first. All right. Yichen cupped his hands, then left. Yi Yuanqing let out a breath, and a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Right at this moment, a figure appeared in front of Yi Yuanqing. Other than Yi Hua, who else could it be? Big Brother. Yi Yuanqing stood up and said joyfully. Soon after, she pounced into her big brother's embrace. I feel so safe. No wonder my sisters-in-law like Big Brother so much. Originally, Yi Hua came here to solve the problem, but his little sister's reaction just now caused him to be a bit stupefied. What is going on? Why is she so happy? Could it be that she is so happy because she saw me, her big brother? I, the Supreme Overlord, am very touched. As expected of my little sister. Big Brother, you are the best. Yi Yuanqing said excitedly. He even stood on his tiptoes and kissed his little sister. Don't misunderstand, this is the pure love between brother and sister. Yi Hua naturally knew that as well. He lightly patted onto his little sister's head. Little sister is in trouble, as your big brother, I naturally have to come and help you. Sure enough, it is the same as what I thought, Big Brother, you are really amazing. You settled the matter in just a few minutes. Settled? Yi Hua asked confusedly, indicating that he didn't know at all. That's right, wasn't it Big Brother who settled the matter? Yi Yuanqing asked curiously. Yi Hua was a bit embarrassed, but he still said seriously, of course, I, as your big brother, will definitely settle the matter for you. Hee, you are amazing, Big Brother, Yi Yuanqing gave a thumbs up. Yi Hua was confused. It should be that the Eastern Emperor family knows about me, that's why they took the initiative to apologize to me, right? Other than this, there really isn't any other possibility. Since everything is settled, Big Brother, I will be going back first. Alright, Big Brother, take care. When you are free, come and eat at little sister's place. Yi Hua waved his hand, alright, when the time comes, Big Brother will bring your sisters-in-law over. Make sure to prepare more. Don't worry, Big Brother, I will make sure that you are full. Yi Hua smiled and nodded his head, then disappeared from the spot. However, Yi Hua didn't go back home. Instead, he went to look for Dongwang Ji. This old man shouldn't be dead yet. Just when Dongwang Ji arrived at the palace, he saw a figure landing beside him. When he took a look, he almost peed in his pants. Brother-in-law. Dong Wang-ji didn't know why he called out this word, but if he didn't call out this word, perhaps someone might die. When Yihua heard this word, he slightly went into a daze. After all, being called brother-in-law by an old man, that kind of feeling is rather strange. However, thinking about it now, it doesn't seem right. Dong Huang Baiji is actually his big sister? If that's the case, just how old is the Empress? If that's the case, wouldn't I be at a disadvantage? Other people always say that a woman who is 3 years older will hug a golden brick, but this isn't just 3 years old, there are even women who are 30,000 years old. The Empress is really dishonest, hiding her age, she is really bad. When I return, I have to properly reason with the Empress. I heard that you chased my little sister off the throne. Yihua said coldly. His pair of eyes carried an ice-cold aura, as if as long as you don't say a single word correctly, I will kill you. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.